Chapter 1300. The speed of the iron sword was too fast. Everyone only saw a flash of cold light and Monkey-A's arm was cut off. Fresh blood flowed out from the wound. Monkey-A returned to his human form and screamed while holding his broken arm. The army of monkeys looked at Shisheng in shock. One move, just one move and their leader had lost an arm. F***ck your grandfather. Shisheng kicked Monkey-A in the chest and waved his iron sword. The monkeys who wanted to go forward had no choice but to retreat. Shisheng lowered her head to look at Monkey-A. The corner of her lips curved slightly. Do you still want me now? Monkey-A was in so much pain that he couldn't speak. Cold sweat covered his eyes, and he could only vaguely see the female who was stepping on him. That kind of confidence and arrogance was something he had never seen in any of the orcs. She seemed to have an invisible aura around her. Darkness silently invaded and corroded your soul. An invisible hand dragged you down into the mud. Let go of my brother. Monkey B's sharp voice pulled Monkey-A out of that terrifying feeling, and he gasped for breath. Shisheng stopped and looked at Monkey B. Let go. Then what? Monkey B. How do I know what will happen if you're so cooperative? Shisheng sneered. It's okay to have a big heart, but you don't have a body that can accommodate such a big heart. Yet? Before Monkey B could react, his brother's body rolled down the mountain. A calm voice smashed into their hearts. Now it's your turn. The people of the White Tiger tribe felt that they were still sleeping. Was the beast man who killed the long-tailed ape tribe and the black snake tribe really the spoiled and willful Ling, she who only knew how to order other beastmen around? Feng Yan brought his tribe's beastmen and arrived late. Looking at the corpses all over the ground, he was also dumbfounded. What was going on? Bai Yuan, what's going on? He rushed over as soon as he received the news. He didn't expect it to be settled already. Bai Yuan gestured for Feng Yan to look into the distance. Shisheng was squatting on the ground and pulling out a snake corpse. Her. Feng Yan was surprised. What does it have to do with her? Bai Yuan was shocked. He swallowed his saliva with difficulty. She did it. Feng Yan's eyes widened. What? How could she be so capable? All the orcs in the White Tiger tribe had seen it. No matter how much Feng Yan didn't want to admit it, he couldn't deny this fact. It took Feng Yan a while to find his voice. What is she doing? I don't know. Bai Yuan shook his head. Feng Yan furrowed his brows and walked over. Kacha. Feng Yan had not even gotten close when he heard this voice. Shisheng's back was facing him, so Feng Yan imagined a scene in his mind. However, when he got closer, he realized that it was completely different from what he had imagined. She was eating something he had never seen before. The shells were all over the floor. Shisheng stood up from the ground and turned around, dragging his snake tail on the ground. He looked at him calmly and said, "Excuse me." Feng Yan glanced at the snake. It was from the Dark Serpent clan. Lingxi, how did you suddenly become so powerful? Shisheng looked up at him and said shamelessly, I've always been this good. Feng Yan retorted without hesitation, impossible. In the past, Lingxi was a spoiled female. Everyone had to go along with her. She was spoiled and willful. It was impossible for her to become so powerful. Believe it or not. Shisheng pushed him away with his iron sword. Excuse me. The iron sword was pressed against his chest. A gust of cold air instantly entered his body, almost freezing him to the point that he couldn't move. When he came back to his senses, Shisheng had already disappeared with the snake. Shisheng dragged the snake up the mountain under the strange gazes of the orcs. Why did he drag a snake up? I don't know. Is it dead? It's so soft. Is it dead? Why didn't I realize that Lingxi was so powerful? If it wasn't for her, we would have been wiped out by the Dark Serpent tribe and the long-tailed ape tribe. The few female orcs who had offended Shisheng huddled together in a corner, trembling. They were afraid that Shisheng would come and punish them. If they had known that she was so powerful, they wouldn't have dared to offend her. She was so powerful, but she always hid her strength. Wasn't she doing it on purpose? Shisheng dissected the snake and found a strange bead in its body. Shisheng held the bead and looked at it for a long time. This snake was not eye-catching, but it was harder to kill than other snakes. It would be strange if there was no ghost. Buttface, Tell me, what the hell is this? The system was silent for a while. It probably didn't want to answer. Buttface. Buttface, I know you're here. If you don't answer me, I'll go back and tear you apart. Why is my life so hard? I'm being threatened by my host every day. In this world, 1 in 10,000 orcs can condense this bead. This bead can extend their lifespan, and their strength will be stronger than normal orcs. This type of orc will become an overlord if nothing goes wrong. It could easily kill a future overlord. That's awesome. I'm just lucky to have met you. The snake was still in its growth stage. If it was an adult. Alright, there was no suspense. What about the other uses? Nothing else. Buttface. I really don't want to talk to my host. I have to consider it again and again every time, but it's useless in the end. Ordinary orcs can come back to life after consuming this bead. Host, why do you believe that it has other uses? Shisheng smiled smugly. There's no memory of this in the original owner's memory. There's also no memory of this in the plot I received. This proves that you don't know much about this matter. If it can only make orcs more powerful, why hide it? After eliminating a group of people with holes in their brains, there was only a deeper meaning left. Was it hard to guess? It wasn't hard to guess. They were all tricks. Shisheng pinched the bead in his hand and looked at it. Bringing the dead back to life? Was it real? It's not that exaggerated. It can only make orcs recover faster from their injuries. But if they're completely dead, they definitely can't be saved. So host, please don't have such strange thoughts of trying to kill an orc. Shisheng's face was full of regret. I don't really understand my host's brain circuit. Lingxi, Lin Qiqi and Feng Yan suddenly entered the cave. The snake's corpse was still placed by the cave. In order to find that bead from the corpse, Shisheng had dissected the corpse into a mess. At first glance, it looked quite bloody. Ah. Lin Qiqi seemed to be frightened by that bloody scene and shrank into Feng Yan's arms. Feng Yan took the opportunity to hug Lin Qiqi. Shisheng was speechless. Why did they come to I to show off their love? No female lead. You've been in this world for so long. What bloody scene haven't you seen? She was just dissecting a snake. Was there a need to have such a big reaction? This makes me, who is also a girl, very embarrassed, okay? Asterisk, this is a fake group. Little fairy. The weather keeps changing. What should I do? Cherub, just beat it up. Little fairy, are you going? Cherub, I'll go. Little fairy. My appearance fee is very expensive. Cherub was speechless. System, Cherub has left this group. Little fairy. D*MN, I haven't finished my lines yet. What do you mean? System, it's all a trick. Everyone knows it. Please vote. Little fairy, dog 2 get lost. Chapter 1301. Feng Yan's gaze landed on Shisheng's hand. That bead was amber in color. It was the size of a thumb, smooth and beautiful. Pinched by her slender fingers, it became even more magnificent. There really was, he still thought that he had seen wrongly. Lingxi, your brother needs the bead in your hand to save his life. Feng Yan went straight to the point. She was Bai An's sister. She shouldn't refuse. That was what Feng Yan thought. What has it got to do with me? It turned out that this thing appeared to save the male lead's life. How could her luck be so good? Damn it. According to the normal routine, Feng Yan must have led the beastmen to save the White Tiger tribe, and then obtained this life-saving bead. When Bai An recovered, Feng Yan could be considered to have saved his life. How could he still have the face to object to Feng Yan and Lin Qiqi being together? So the male lead's first and second male lead's relationship was harmonious. Lingxi, he's your brother. Lin Qiqi raised her head from Feng Yan's arms and resisted the urge to look at the bloody scene on the ground. Shisheng looked calm. I've already severed ties with him. Feng Yan was speechless. Lin Qiqi was speechless. Feng Yan didn't know this joke, but Lin Qiqi was speechless. He severed ties with him just like that? He's your brother. Shisheng smiled but didn't say anything. That was the original owner's brother. He had nothing to do with her. Feng Yan's eyes were filled with disappointment. Lingxi, when did you become so cold-blooded? Shisheng was speechless. Why are you disappointed? Shisheng put away the bead. I killed the snake. I found the item. It's my business whether I give it to you or not. Feng Yan raised his voice and was filled with anger. But this is used to save your brother. Shouldn't you take it out? Shisheng glanced at Feng Yan and said maliciously, why are you so nervous about saving your love rival? If he dies, you can monopolize your Qiqi. How good would that be? Feng Yan's expression changed. He hurriedly lowered his head to look at Lin Qiqi. Qiqi, I didn't think so. Lin Qiqi forced a smile at him and looked at Shisheng pleadingly. Lingxi, what do I have to do for you to give me the pearl to save Bayan? Kill yourself. Lingxi, Feng Yan shouted angrily. I knew that you didn't like Qiqi. I told you long ago that I wouldn't like you. Shisheng was speechless. If it wasn't the second male lead, what kind of weird things were you imagining? No matter how he looked at it, her recent behavior didn't show any signs of liking him at all. Shisheng snorted and lifted his chin out of habit. I don't like you either. Don't use this method. No matter what you do, I won't even look at you. Just give up. Feng Yan was still agitated. Shisheng was speechless. Are you listening to me? Don't let your imagination run wild. It's wrong to close the country. Too lazy to talk to them. Shisheng directly threw the two of them out of the cave. F***ck, this group of retards really have cat biscuits. Host, this sentence of yours is wrong. Shut up. Shisheng said these words and his voice wasn't soft. The beastmen outside were pointing at Lin Qiqi and Feng Yan who were thrown out. With Shisheng's roar, the scene suddenly quietened down. Shisheng simply walked out and looked at the two people below. I won't give you this thing. Xiao Xuanzi, come here. Bai Xian, who was supported out by Bai Xian's father, was suddenly called out. He looked at Shisheng, who was standing high up in confusion. Then he looked around and pointed at himself. Shisheng nodded slightly. Bai Xian felt uneasy as he limped over to Shisheng. Come up. Bai Xian went up the stone stairs from the side. Shisheng pinched his chin and fed the pearl directly. Bai Xian didn't even taste anything before the pearl slid down his throat. Shisheng let go of him and made a gesture of letting go. It's gone. Feng Yan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Tears welled up in Lin Qiqi's eyes. She raised her head stubbornly. How can you do this? Bayan is your older brother. If anything happens to him, won't you feel guilty? What should she do to an NPC? That would make her feel guilty. Host, aren't you heartless? Now you are. Do you have a conscience just because you say you have one? You can't play like this. Qiqi, let's go. Feng Yan helped Lin Qiqi up. She will suffer retribution sooner or later. What about Bayan? I'll think of a way. Lin Qiqi was touched. Thank you, Feng Yan. Feng Yan patted Lin Qiqi's head lovingly. There's no need to thank me between us. Lin Qiqi was half supported and half carried away by Feng Yan. The surrounding beastmen were all dumbfounded. What was going on? Shisheng turned around and entered the cave. Bai Xian hesitated for a moment before following Shisheng in. He asked carefully, Lingxi, what did you give me to eat? Miraculous medicine. Once that thing was eaten, it would be useless. There wouldn't be any beastmen who consumed it. The blood would also have a miraculous effect. It was equivalent to a one-time recovery item. Is Qiqi here to ask for medicine for the leader? If you eat it for me, what will happen to the leader? Bai Xian's face turned slightly pale. This was what he understood from the conversation just now. He won't die. Instead of worrying about him, why don't you worry about yourself? Don't block me here. Go play outside. Shisheng chased him away impatiently. With the male lead's halo, she would win if he died. Seeing that Shisheng was impatient, Bai Xian subconsciously shut up and left the cave. As soon as he went out, he was surrounded by the beastmen outside. He didn't know what had happened either, and didn't dare to speak carelessly. He only shook his head and said that he didn't know. Shisheng tidied up the snake's corpse and threw away the ones he took out. There was a bloody smell on her body. She ran out to wash up again. When she returned, the moon was already high in the sky. The moonlight shone through the canopy and mottled shadows swayed in the forest. Shisheng stared at those shadows and his steps became slower and slower. After a while, she paused, turned around, and stared into the depths of the forest. You've been monitoring me for such a long time. Are you planning to make a move? Her voice echoed in the forest, but no one responded to her. Shisheng frowned, and was about to go over when a black figure slowly walked out. The withered branches on the ground made a slight sound as they were stepped on, adding some liveliness to the dead forest. The figure opposite her paused and stood in the darkness. White Tiger Tribe Lingxi. Shisheng frowned. Why? What do you want? The other party was silent for a few seconds. Then a clear voice cut through the night. Are you interested in joining the Northern Wilderness Tribe? Hidden mission. Shared grave. Mission target. Xinglan. Mission objective. Literal meaning. Please understand it yourself. Shisheng was speechless. Asterisk, please vote. I'll give you a little heart. Chapter 1302. In the darkness, the man's figure seemed to be still. Shisheng took a long time to come back to his senses. This idiot had been spying on him for so long. What was the meaning of this? Xinglan, the leader of the Northern Wilderness Tribe, was one of the villains in the novel. The Northern Wilderness Tribe, starting from the river at the foot of the mountain, was the territory of the Northern Wilderness Tribe. Their biggest goal was to unify the world. However, with the male and female lead, the progress bar of unifying the world stopped at the other side of the river. Xinglan was a very ambitious villain, and a very beautiful one at that. At the beginning of the plot, when Xinglan and the female lead met for the first time, the female lead had some feelings for Xinglan. However, the villain only wanted to unify the world, and didn't like to talk about love, so he died a horrible death in the end. He was taken care of by the female lead's harem, and the Northern Wilderness Tribe was also under the female lead's team. Shisheng muttered, That's strange. Why is there a plot this time? I've been poisoned. Shisheng's mouth twitched. What did that idiot master of yours do? The virus she released didn't target the plot. Don't ask me. I don't know. Ever since that time, his master hadn't contacted him. What could he do? He was also in despair. Have you thought about it? Okay, but I have a condition. Tell me. Be my partner. Xinglan chuckled, and her voice traveled through the darkness. What makes you think you can be my partner? Shisheng raised his eyebrows, and his lips curved into a beautiful arc. He said firmly, Because I'm your partner. A sharp gaze fell on her. In the darkness, it was as if a vicious beast was crawling, staring at its prey with vicious eyes. The air was filled with danger, and the tension could break at any time. Shisheng's heart sank. Your answer is much more interesting than the other females. The danger disappeared at this moment, as if it was just Shisheng's illusion. However, I don't need a partner. Oh. Shisheng turned and left. Regardless of whether the person opposite her was Feng Xi or not, she felt that there was no need to continue the conversation. She didn't want to touch someone with such a temperament. Xinglan didn't stop Shisheng from leaving. It wasn't until Shisheng was out of sight that he slowly stepped out of the room. The mottled moonlight shone on his feather robes, reflecting the light. A gentle breeze blew through the forest, lifting a corner of her feather robe and blocking Xinglan's figure. Shisheng walked slowly. His face was cold and his heart was calm. The system had no idea what state its host was in. Host, why are you so against this kind of person? According to its data, the host herself was such a person, but she especially rejected such people. Shisheng's eyelashes fluttered. Why? Because there was no salvation for two people in the darkness. They would not compromise. They only wanted the other party to become what they wanted, just like her. Xinglan's personality wasn't the same as before. Perhaps there was still hope for her. He couldn't be saved, just like Chu Tang from the first world and Lu Qingyan from the second world. They wouldn't compromise unless you changed for them first. However, Shisheng couldn't do that. She could compromise on her bottom line, but she wouldn't compromise on her bottom line. She would only make the other party compromise. How could two people who both wanted the other party to compromise be together? The system suddenly trembled. According to its master, Feng Xi was definitely very scary. Based on its host's current thoughts, it was impossible for her to accept Feng Xi. Was its master wasting his time? Then why are you doing all this now? The host already knew that the person she was looking for was the same as her. Shisheng looked up. A person should have hope. Maybe he'll compromise first? What if? I'm saying what if he doesn't? Oh. Then I'll destroy him with my own hands. Shisheng paused. Or we can destroy him together. The host's way of thinking is so extreme. You'll be dragged back to school to have your morals copied. Shisheng laughed softly. This is the least confident thing I've done after that incident. But she still had a trace of luck. It was best not to disappoint her. Then, what are you going to do now? Shisheng rolled his eyes. I'll do what I have to do. If he doesn't provoke me, I'll kill him and go to the next world after fulfilling the original owner's last wish. Don't make it sound so easy to go to the next world, okay? What if he provokes you? Kill him. So he'll die in the end. Feng Yan, thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know what to do. Lin Qiqi's voice came from afar. It's okay. Don't be too sad. He'll be fine. Feng Yan comforted her gently. Shisheng turned to look at the source of the sound before nimbly hiding behind a tree. Lin Qiqi and Feng Yan happened to walk to a small empty space beside her and stood still. Lin Qiqi thanked Feng Yan incoherently. Lin Qiqi was probably scared out of her wits previously. She was almost exchanged for the long-tailed ape tribe and the crow-snake tribe. I heard about what happened today. They went overboard. But don't worry. I'll be here with you for the time being. When Bayan wakes up, I'll get him to give you an explanation. Feng Yan held Lin Qiqi's shoulder and promised. Other than thanking him, Lin Qiqi couldn't say anything else. Seeing her pitiful look, Feng Yan couldn't help but lean over and kiss her. Lin Qiqi struggled symbolically for a while before following Feng Yan's rhythm. The two of them quickly met each other openly. Sounds of moaning could be heard in the forest. Shisheng held his forehead. Female lead, your male lead is still lying down. You're actually in the mood to make love with the male lead here? Was this an indescribable story? Shisheng wanted to leave, but when he turned around, he realized that there was a cliff behind him. If she wanted to go out, she had to pass by Lin Qiqi and Feng Yan. Shisheng was speechless. This was King force viewing. Feng Yan and Lin Qiqi's posture was very difficult. Lin Qiqi's figure was also flexible enough. If it were anyone else, they definitely wouldn't be able to do it. Feng Yan took a long time this time. Lin Qiqi begged him several times before he stopped. After the two of them left, Shisheng came out from behind the tree. Her vision suddenly darkened. Shisheng subconsciously took a step back. She didn't know what she stepped on, but she suddenly slipped and fell towards the cliff behind her. The moment she fell, her gaze swept across the black shadow above. F***ck. Why was she unlucky every time she met Feng Xi? Even if she was strong, she couldn't stop her from being unlucky. Friendly reminder. The above content is pure nonsense. Please don't imitate it or take it seriously. You're not Shisheng. Please don't have any extreme thoughts. You have to be a kind, cute, sunny, dignified, and elegant girl. Chapter 1303. Shisheng steadied himself with his iron sword and stuck himself between two trees. Xinglan stood on top and looked at her. She had no intention of saving her at all. Shisheng climbed up while cursing. Are you crazy? Why did you suddenly appear in front of me? I didn't expect you to have a hobby of peeping at other people's mating. How would you know that I was peeping if you didn't? How can I be better than you? Shisheng sneered. Damn it, she was really annoying. Xinglan looked at her through the light and smiled. I don't have a habit of peeping at other people's mating. Shisheng suddenly drew his sword and slashed at Xinglan. Xinglan was only slightly surprised. She nimbly moved to the side and avoided the iron sword. Your sword is very interesting. Shisheng turned his wrist and swept the iron sword horizontally. He gritted his teeth and said, It'll be more interesting if I kill you. Xinglan wrapped herself in light and jumped onto the tree trunk. Aren't you changing your mind too quickly? She wanted to be his partner before, but in the blink of an eye, she wanted to kill him. Shisheng's iron sword hit the tree trunk. The tree that needed two people to wrap their arms around it collapsed. Xinglan was forced to fall to the side. Leaves rustled as they fluttered down. Light and shadow were everywhere. What's wrong with destroying what you can't have? His arrogant voice was accompanied by the falling leaves. Xinglan and Shisheng looked at each other under the moonlight. He seemed to have looked into the depths of her eyes. There was a dead silence. After a long time, Xinglan said, "You can consider my suggestion carefully." He leaped and hid in the depths of the forest. After a slight sound, he disappeared. It was as if he had never appeared. In the end, Bian was fine. Feng Yan found a wizard for her. In the world of beastmen, wizards were the most popular profession. Who could guarantee that they wouldn't fall sick? Thus, as long as wizards didn't do anything heartless, they would be treated well no matter which tribe they were in. The sorcerer that Feng Yan had invited back was very young and very good-looking. There seemed to be a wizard in the female lead's harem. Furthermore, Lin Qiqi and this sorcerer knew each other before. If they met this time, wouldn't something develop? Shisheng secretly observed for 2 days, and found that there was indeed something going on between the female lead and the wizard. "Lingxi, do you want to fetch water? Let me help you." Bai Xian trotted to the Shisheng and grinned happily. "Keep your voice down." Shisheng glared at him. Bai Xian didn't know what was going on, but he still closed his mouth obediently and followed Shisheng's gaze. Beside the pool, Lin Qiqi was fetching water while the new magus stood beside her. The two of them seemed to be very harmonious as they talked. "Qiqi, let me take it." The wizard went to help Lin Qiqi take over the bamboo tube that was filled with water. "No need. I'll do it myself." Lin Qiqi smiled and refused. But the warlock refused and insisted on snatching it from Lin Qiqi. This time, the bamboo tube of water splashed all over Lin Qiqi. The warlock hurriedly reached out to wipe the water off Lin Qiqi's body. When he touched Lin Qiqi's chest, his eyes immediately became fiery. Shisheng pushed Bai Xian. "It's not suitable for children. What are you looking at? Go and call Bian over to catch the adulterers." Bai Xian's face turned red and he quickly looked away. Lin Qiqi is the leader's partner. How can she be like this with other beastmen? Although beastmen weren't very loyal to each other, as the leader's partner, they usually wouldn't do such a thing. That's why I asked you to call Bian over to catch the adulterers. Shisheng looked at him as if he was a mentally disabled child. Bai Xian nodded and ran towards Bai An's cave. The witch doctor pulled Lin Qiqi to a patch of grass behind the pool. The grass there was very deep. If a beast man went in, the grass would be submerged up to his chest. The two of them lay inside. The people outside couldn't see anything at all. Bai Xian quickly brought Bian over. Shisheng stood where Bai Xian could see and pointed at the grass. Bai Xian immediately understood and brought Bian over. Soon, quarrels could be heard in the grass. Bian hadn't recovered from his injuries yet, but he was already with other beastmen. Even if Bian could accept her harem in the future, he definitely couldn't accept it now. In addition, Lin Qiqi had been pushed out by the White Tiger tribe previously. Lin Qiqi might have some complicated feelings for Bian in her heart. If she provoked them slightly, they would become even more complicated. It was probably impossible for them to continue being lovey-dovey. They would definitely break up the couple. "He's your brother. Why did you treat him like this?" Shisheng turned around abruptly. A man wrapped in a feathered robe stood behind her. That night, Shisheng didn't see clearly what he was wrapped in. He only felt that it was a little ethereal. Now that he saw it clearly, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. Was this King Birdman? He exuded a sense of danger. It was so dangerous that Shisheng ignored his face. Shisheng took a step back. "I won't agree to it. Hurry up and get lost. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." Xinglan's thin lips curled up slightly. At that moment, it was as if the wilderness was filled with addictive poppies. It was dangerous but also tempting. "You will agree. You think too highly of yourself." Shisheng snorted coldly. "No one can force me to agree to anything. Is that so? Then we'll wait and see." Xinglan turned around and left. "Wait and see your head. Do you believe that I will tie you up?" This was a good idea. "Host, can't you calm down a little?" No. It seemed that such a Feng Ci was more difficult to deal with. Not only in terms of IQ, but also in terms of martial arts. The possibility of catching him was very low. But it wasn't impossible to try. The matter between Lin Qiqi and the shaman made Bayan very angry. Even Shisheng was unlucky. Bayan came to pursue her responsibility for giving the bead to Bai Xian previously. Are you my sister or not? Bayan was furious. I'm about to die, but you gave the life-saving bead to another beast man? How can you die? Shisheng sat opposite Bayan and casually played with her sword. Bayan didn't know if he was provoked, but he stood up immediately. You can't wait for me to die, right? Shisheng admitted generously and looked at him expectantly. Yes, will you die? You. Bayan pointed at Shisheng. He was so angry that he couldn't speak. After a long time, he forced out a sentence. I heard that you want to cut ties with me? I've already cut ties with you. Then why are you still living here? Bayan slammed the stone table. His loud voice could be heard outside. Since you've cut ties with me, get out of the White Tiger tribe. Bayan didn't want to see her at this moment. Lin Qiqi cheated on him, and she was still so angry at him. He was already suppressing his anger by not hitting her. Since she wanted to cut ties with him, then so be it. He wanted to see what kind of good life she would have after leaving the White Tiger tribe. Come on. Pretentious. Come on. How joyful. Come on. Vote. Chapter 1304. Shisheng didn't want to stay in the White Tiger tribe either. Lin Qiqi and Bayan probably had something going on previously, so she left the White Tiger tribe readily. But before she left, there was still something she had to do. When the White Tiger tribe's beastmen heard that Shisheng had been chased out, they discussed animatedly. Bayan didn't see what happened previously with his own eyes, but they did. They didn't understand why Bayan would chase such a powerful sister out. Lingxi, are you really going to leave? Bai Xian followed behind Shisheng as he asked with a worried expression. Yes. She wanted to go out and take over the mountain. Then she would think of a way to tie Xinglan up. Why? Shisheng looked sideways at him. His eyes were silent and emotionless. Bayan chased me out. Why do you think? Bai Xian choked. After a while he said. The leader was furious. He definitely didn't want to chase you away. Then I won't stay either. Her hands itched when she saw the male and female leads. Have you seen Bai Yuan? No. Bai Xian shook his head. Shisheng frowned. She walked around the encampment, but didn't see Bai Yuan. Bai Xian followed behind her step by step. He didn't know why she was looking for Bai Yuan. Bai Yuan only appeared in the evening. He came down from the back of the mountain. Shisheng walked over directly. Bai Yuan seemed to be very surprised. Lingxi. Shisheng smiled. Bai Yuan, let's settle the score. Bai Yuan was confused. What? Lingxi, what's there to settle between us? Shisheng's eyes curved. Don't tell me you think that I don't know that you drugged me? Shisheng stared at Bai Yuan's face. When she said this, the muscles on his face clearly tensed up. His pupils constricted as well. The hand hanging by his side moved back unnaturally and blocked behind him. Lingxi, what are you talking about? These emotions only lasted for a second. He quickly recovered and asked with slight nervousness and concern. Who drugged you? What drug? Are you okay? Don't you know who did it? Shisheng narrowed his eyes at Bai Yuan and calmly asked. Why did the Dark Serpent tribe and the Long-tailed Ape tribe attack our tribe so quickly? Why did you suggest to run away without even fighting? Bai Yuan immediately explained. Leader's injury was for everyone's sake. Lingxi, did you misunderstand something? Shisheng rolled his eyes and said. Fine, I don't care if you want to replace me or if you have other motives. But I'm going to make you pay for drugging me. Lingxi, I really didn't. Before Bai Yuan could finish his words, Shisheng had already attacked him. Bai Yuan was unable to defend himself against his fierce moves. After a few moves, he was pinned to the ground by Shisheng. Shisheng held Bai Yuan's hands behind his back and exerted a little force. Bai Yuan was in so much pain that he broke out in a cold sweat. However, he still retorted. Lingxi, I really didn't drug you. You didn't drug me. Why were you so nervous when I asked you just now? Shisheng snorted. Lingxi, believe me. I really didn't. I'll get to the bottom of this. Let me go first. We can talk this out. What are you doing? Bai An's scolding voice could be heard. He had brought a few beast men with him. Bai An walked closer, and his gaze swept across Bai Yuan and Shisheng. Why haven't you left yet? Revenge? Shisheng's tone was light, as if he was talking to him. Bai Yuan furrowed his brows. What revenge? You might have a grudge against him too. Shisheng looked at Bai An maliciously. Malice was written all over his face. Don't you have any suspicions about what happened before? Bai An's expression changed slightly. The atmosphere became awkward. Shisheng stepped on Bai Yuan and stood up. He continued. Why was it so coincidental that you met the long-tailed ape tribe in the wilderness and got injured? Where did the beast men of the white tiger tribe go? They only appeared when you were injured to that extent. Even if there was no conspiracy in this matter, Shisheng's words made it seem like there was a conspiracy. Lingxi, what nonsense are you talking about? Bai Yuan said with difficulty. Are you saying that there's a traitor in our tribe? I didn't say that. Shisheng spread his hands. You said it. Bai Yuan was speechless. Bai An's face darkened as he recalled what had happened recently several times in his mind. Lin Qiqi had told him previously that when she went to look for them, it took her a long time to find them. Furthermore, they were together. Although their reason was reasonable, it seemed like they had been deliberately led away. The more he thought about it, the details that he usually didn't pay attention to became clear. Bai Yuan, I've treated you well. Bai An looked at Bai Yuan in disappointment. Why did you do this? Bai Yuan naturally didn't admit it and kept denying it. Wait for a while. Let me settle my matter first. Shisheng interrupted them. Bai Yuan, I'll ask you one last time. Did you do it? Shisheng stared at him deeply. Bai Yuan met her gaze and a chill suddenly ran down his spine. Fear spread over him like a tide. He struggled in the water. There was clearly land in front of him, but he couldn't reach it no matter what. There was only coldness, darkness, and suffocation left. It's me. It's me. Bai Yuan suddenly roared. I've liked you for so long, but you've never looked me in the eye. I just wanted you. He didn't expect such an accident to happen that day. By the time he received the news, she was already gone. He searched secretly for a long time, but he couldn't find her. After she returned, she seemed to have changed into a different person. He didn't dare to inquire about anything for fear of being discovered. Bai Yuan gave up struggling. You. How did you find out? Every evening that. Shisheng didn't remember the female beastman's name. She would come every day to freeload, but she didn't come that day. Later on, I asked around and found out that you sent good things to their family. I gave them to all the beastmen. That's why it seems suspicious. Why did you give them things for no reason? Don't talk about tribal feelings. Do you believe in such things? He was the one who acted strangely that day. If she didn't suspect him, who would she suspect? After that, she only needed to observe a little to find that Bai Yuan looked at her strangely. But every time he was in front of her, he acted like a big brother. Maybe Bai Yuan just wanted to get the original owner, but he didn't expect that Bai An would hit the original owner, and the original owner would run out. In the end, the original owner died. There were some drugs in this world that couldn't be cured without a specific antidote. Didn't the original owner die unjustly? Since you've admitted it, a life for a life. Shisheng took out the iron sword and pressed it against Bai Yuan's chest. The surrounding beastmen saw the iron sword and retreated. Although they were beastmen, they still retained their beastly instincts. That sword was very dangerous. ## today's dark plum flavor ticket number 2017. 04. 10 book review area Little Angel Su Chu. Chapter 1305. Wait a minute. Bai An shouted too late. Shisheng's iron sword had already been sent into Bai Yuan's body. Bai Yuan's eyes widened. Reflecting the blood-like sunset on the horizon, the light disappeared inch by inch. Why did you kill him just like that? Bai An stared at Shisheng in disbelief. Shisheng drew out the iron sword and his eyes were cold. What else can I do? Do I have to give him a farewell party before killing him? Bai An was speechless. His gaze landed on Bai Yuan's chest. His gaze froze and he raised his head to question Shisheng. You killed Dazhuang? Previously, Lin Qiqi told him that the wound on Dazhuang's body matched the sword in her hand. He had asked her about it, but she didn't admit it. But now that he saw the exact same wound on Bai Yuan's body with his own eyes, did he still need to ask? That's right. The beastmen were in an uproar. She really killed Dazhuang. Why did you deny it before? Did I deny it? Shisheng tilted his head. I didn't deny it. I only said that I didn't know. I didn't say that I didn't kill him. He was twisting words. Bayan gritted his teeth. What about the other beastmen? Did you kill them too? Shisheng looked disgusted. I didn't kill them. I won't use such a bloody method. Bayan suddenly waved his hand. Capture her. Shisheng was speechless. You want to capture me without a word. What's wrong with you? Be reasonable. That's self-defense, understand? After receiving Bai An's order, the beastmen didn't attack immediately. Instead, they were a little hesitant. They were very afraid of the sword in Shisheng's hand. Attack! Bai An kicked the beastman beside him. The beastman pounced on Shisheng. The other beastmen gritted their teeth and pounced on Shisheng like a swarm of bees. Shisheng killed these idiots and swaggered down the mountain. Bai An was so angry that he almost flipped the base over. After leaving the White Tiger tribe's territory, Shisheng walked through the forest. She had to find a place to occupy the mountain. This world was too dangerous. She was afraid of fighting alone. Shisheng walked for a while before he suddenly stopped and looked at the birdman sitting not far away. Was this idiot done yet? The birdman pursed his lips and chuckled. There seemed to be layers of ripples in his eyes. His pleasant voice rang out in the forest. Now that you've been chased out of the White Tiger tribe, the Northern Wilderness tribe welcomes you at any time. Shisheng glared at him with his hands on his hips. In the next second, he drew his sword and slashed at him aggressively. The sword chi swept past, and the patch of green instantly disappeared, leaving only the bare ground. Xinglan lowered his head and glanced at his feather robes. He could feel the killing intent. She really wanted to kill him. A murderous aura flashed in Xinglan's eyes, but it was quickly restrained. Be careful when using such a dangerous weapon, lest you accidentally injure yourself. What responded to him was the sword energy wrapped in boundless killing intent. Xinglan tightened her feather clothes and quickly disappeared into the forest before the sword energy swept over. Buttface, I don't want this version of Feng Xi, Shisheng complained to the system. She wanted the cute version of Feng Xi. I've been poisoned. In the normal settings, there shouldn't be such a setting, but there's a 99% chance that I've been poisoned. Useless. If it weren't for you, would I have been poisoned? It's all your own fault, and you're blaming me? The system is very angry now. Goodbye, host. Go play by yourself. Xinglan's figure flitted through the forest like a ghost. The light on her feather robe streaked across the forest, refracting light in the forest. He suddenly paused and looked up at the sky. An eagle swooped down from above, causing the leaves to rustle. The eagle transformed into a human on the ground and said respectfully, "My king, there's something strange over there." Xinglan narrowed his eyes. The air seemed to have condensed with a murderous aura. He was silent for a moment. Go back. Yes. Keep an eye on her every move, Xinglan instructed. The orc was puzzled. My king, even if she has some skills, she doesn't know how to appreciate favors. Why waste time on her? At first, they thought that their king had taken a fancy to the little tiger. But later, they realized that their king had indeed taken a fancy to her. But not that kind of fancy. Xinglan couldn't explain why he insisted on bringing her to the Northern Wilderness tribe. He said in a low voice, "Do as I say." The orc didn't dare to have any objections. Yes. Shisheng occupied the mountain next to the White Tiger tribe and occupied the mountain next to the Lion tribe. Basically, all the nearby orc tribes knew each other. Shisheng, a tiger, ran over to the Lion tribe to occupy the mountain. Of course, the Lion tribe wouldn't agree. But in the face of martial strength, the Lion tribe gave in. Shisheng began to lead them to conquer the surrounding mountains. In the past, when tribes fought like lions, tigers, and wolves, everyone's strength was about the same. It was either a draw or something was snatched away. But there was definitely no tribe like Shisheng who directly took over the land. As the first batch of lions to be occupied by Shisheng, they suddenly felt that it was quite an honor. It didn't seem like a dream to dominate the beast world and become the beast king. Other than the white tiger tribe, Shisheng almost conquered all the nearby tribes that had some strength. Anyway, he would beat them until they were convinced. One day, Shisheng suddenly felt spiritual energy. Although it wasn't very rich, when he wanted to feel it carefully, the spiritual energy disappeared like a flash in the pan. This world was strange, but Shisheng didn't care. Anyway, he would deal with whatever came his way. Leader, leader. A little lion barged into a cave and transformed into a little girl. Leader, a tiger came from the bottom of the mountain and said he wants to see you. There was a person lying on the stone bed in the cave. She was chewing on a fruit and asked casually, "Who is it?" The little girl ran in front of Shisheng and stared at the fruit in his hand. Her little face was puffed up like a bun. Shisheng took out a fruit from the side and passed it to her. What kind of joke was a lion being a vegetarian? The little girl immediately smiled and said, "He said his name is Bai Xian." Bai Xian? What was he doing here? Shisheng sat up from the stone bed and went out. The little girl hugged the fruit but didn't eat it. Instead, she tossed it from her left hand to her right hand, and then from her right hand to her left hand. Her eyes were bright as she swayed behind Shisheng. Shisheng reached the bottom of the mountain and didn't see a single person. Where is he? Shisheng turned his head and asked the little girl who was playing with the fruit. The little girl puffed up her cheeks. Brother said that the white tiger tribe has a grudge against leader. They must be up to no good, so they took him away. Now, oh, he should have been killed by brother. Shisheng's mouth twitched. Then why did you tell me that there were orcs at the bottom of the mountain looking for me? The little girl blinked and nodded innocently. There were orcs looking for you. Shisheng. Shisheng hurried back and saved Bai Xian before he was dismembered. Bai Xian's limbs were weak as he was helped to the mountain camp by the orcs. Lingxi, I almost thought that I would never see you again. Didn't you see me now? The little girl lay on Shisheng's lap and played with the fruit. She still looked innocent. Ryue, come here. Don't disturb leader. A handsome orc waved at the little girl. The little girl hugged the fruit and said reluctantly, "No, I want to play with leader." Shisheng waved his hand at him. "It's okay. You can go. Ryue, don't trouble leader." The handsome orc reminded her and turned to leave. Chapter 1306. Shisheng carried the little girl to the side. The little girl reverted to a lion cub and rolled around her with that fruit in her arms, rubbing against her hand from time to time. "Why are you looking for me?" Shisheng asked Bai Xian as he circled the lion cub. Bai Xian sighed. "The white tiger tribe is in a mess now. I can't stay there anymore, so I wanted to look for you." Ever since Shisheng left and occupied the nearby territory, Bai An's temper fluctuated. He bumped into Lin Qiqi and that witch doctor again and killed that witch doctor. Lin Qiqi was probably frightened and prepared to leave with Feng Yan. After being discovered by Bai An, he fought with Feng Yan. After that, the white tiger tribe and Feng Yan's tribe fought, causing the entire tribe to be restless. Who has Lin Qiqi now? She's still in the white tiger tribe. The leader locked her up. Bai Xian scratched his head. Lin Qiqi is causing a lot of trouble, but the leader won't let her go with Feng Yan. They could hear Bai Xian and Lin Qiqi quarreling every day in the encampment. Why did he lock her up? Is she a bad beast man? Ryue hugged the fruit with both paws and asked curiously as she lay in Shisheng's arms. Shisheng stroked her fur. Because there are beast men who want her. Oh, brother often locks me up too. Does brother want me? Shisheng was speechless. You were locked up for causing trouble. If your brother hears this, he will definitely spank you until you're but blossoms. No. Ryue covered her but with her tail. Shisheng pinched Ryue's ear and said to Bai Xian, "Stay here first." "Thank you, Lingxi." "You have to call him leader," Ryue corrected Bai Xian crisply. Bai Xian was stunned for a moment before he immediately changed his words. "Thank you, leader. Take him to find a place to stay. Don't let other beastmen bully him." Shisheng put Ryue down. Ryue transformed into her human form. "I promise to complete the mission. Follow me." Leader, my father is still down there. Can I bring him up too? Bai Xian asked carefully. Sure. Thank you, Lingxi. Thank you, Leader. Leader, it's going to be winter soon. We need to stock up on food. Shisheng rolled his eyes and waved his hand. Okay, I'll leave it to you. Is the leader going? Sure. Shisheng nodded. Brother, are we going out to hunt? Ruyue looked up and asked her brother expectantly. Chowie took Ruyue away from Shisheng and scolded her with a straight face. Don't stick to the chief all day. Normally, the leader didn't seem to have a temper, but when she was ruthless, she was truly terrifying. Ryu didn't listen to what he said at all. She hugged his neck and swayed. Brother, are we going out to hunt? And Chowie helplessly patted her little head. Her eyes sparkled like the moon. I want to go too. I want to go too. Chief brother, I want to go too. Chowie sternly refused. No, you are still young. Hunting is very dangerous. If she wants to go, let her go. Don't protect her too well. You can't protect her forever. Shisheng supported his chin and said casually. Chowie was speechless. Orcs at this age wouldn't participate in hunting. I want to go. The chief has agreed. Brother. Ruyue hugged Chowie and acted like a spoiled child. Chowie thought that Shisheng would go too. She definitely wouldn't do anything. He would have to leave 2 orcs to watch over them. So he finally agreed. On the day of the hunt, people from all tribes gathered below. The animals in the wilderness were divided into groups. There was plenty of prey. After a while, these animals would leave the wilderness for winter. They wouldn't come back until spring. So this season was the season of hunting. If they could catch more prey, it would be easier to survive the winter. The large group headed toward the wilderness. It was a very large group. Shisheng didn't care about their rations. They had to rely on themselves to eat. The only advantage was that they didn't have to worry about other tribes robbing them. With so many orcs, they couldn't hunt together. Chowie asked them to distribute the food according to their previous territory. They would go to the same place where they hunted before. No matter how much they hunted, it would be their own. They didn't have to hand it in. Ling Chief, why don't you ask them to hand it in? Bai Xian stood beside Shisheng with the little lion in his arms and asked curiously. As a chief, it was normal for him to ask the orcs to hand in their food. Why should I hand it in? I don't lack food. Shisheng asked back. Would she starve herself to death? Bai Xian was speechless. You are too casual as a chief. Chowie asked the 2 orcs to stay and watch over Shisheng and Ruyue. He led the others to hunt. Bai Xian also followed. Ruyue turned into a little lion and ran around Shisheng. She was having a lot of fun. Shisheng looked up at the sky. Several eagles were circling in the distance. That idiot really didn't know when to stop. Ruyue. Chief. Ruyue rushed over from the side and looked at Shisheng with her big eyes. She put her chubby paws on Shisheng's calf. Let's go. I'll take you to hunt birds. Hunt birds? I don't like to eat birds. Ruyue tilted her head and was full of doubts. But it seems to be fun. Where are we going to hunt? Change back. Ruyue immediately changed into her human form. Shisheng led her to the place where the eagles were circling. Chief. The orc watching over them shouted. Where are you going? Over there. Not far away. Shisheng pointed to the plains in the distance. The orcs saw that it was very open and there was no danger. They didn't stop Shisheng and Ruyue. Shisheng rummaged through the space and found some arrows. He didn't find any bows. So when did these arrows get in? Shisheng dismantled a few things and made 2 new bows. Come and take them. I'll show you. Shisheng held the bow with his left hand and pulled the string with his right hand. He aimed at the eagles in the sky. The eagles probably sensed the danger and flew in the sky. Shisheng found it difficult to aim. Whoosh! The arrow shot out and went straight to one of the eagles. When it was about to hit the eagle, there was a sudden explosion. A firework exploded in the sky. The eagle was probably frightened, and its body fell a little, just in time to avoid the arrow that was still moving forward. Shisheng. Damn. Shisheng quickly took the arrow next to him and looked at it carefully. It was no different from an ordinary arrow. The weight and length were the same. But there was a very small symbol engraved on the arrow feather. Which bastard made this thing into a signal flare? So the question was, when exactly did she take this weird thing in? She had no impression of it at all. On second thought, there were many strange things in her space. Those that she could tell where they came from were very destructive. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Chief, I want to see more. Ryue jumped beside Shisheng. She had never seen such a beautiful thing. Chapter 1307. The orcs who heard the noise immediately ran over. Leader, are you okay? Shisheng held the arrow. I'm fine. Leader, I want to see more. Ryue tugged at Shisheng's clothes, her eyes full of expectation. Shoot it yourself. Oh. Ryue picked up the bow that she had thrown away. Shisheng had made it much smaller, but Ryue only reached Shisheng's waist. It was still a little big for her small body to hold the bow. Fortunately, she had the advantage of her race and was quite strong. She imitated Shisheng's actions, put the arrow on the string, and pulled the string. Whoosh! The arrow was shot out, but it fell down before it flew far. It did not explode. Ryue's face was full of disappointment. She could not detonate this kind of signal flare if she was not fast enough. Ryue stubbornly held the arrow and continued to pull the string. Shisheng glanced at her and continued to pull the string. Although the arrow could set off fireworks, it could still be used to shoot birds. Shisheng aimed his sword at the eagles in the sky. The eagles immediately flew away. It was too dangerous. King, they did not want to do this job. Bang! Bang! At the same time, there was the sound of fireworks exploding. An eagle was shot and fell from the sky. One sound was from Shisheng, and the other was from Ryue. She opened her mouth and after a while, she came back to her senses and jumped on the spot happily. Some orcs went to pick up the injured eagle. The arrow had hit its wing, and it was bleeding profusely. Shisheng looked at the sky. The other eagles had flown far away. They could not shoot it. Leader, there are orcs coming. The orc who was holding the eagle suddenly reminded Shisheng. Shisheng looked in the direction he was pointing. A group of orcs was running towards them. They were very fast, as if something was chasing them. In the blink of an eye, they were in front of them. Shisheng pulled Ryue. Ryue might have sensed danger and shrank behind Shisheng, only revealing her eyes. The group of beastmen didn't approach them. Instead, they ran past them. One of the orcs seemed to be injured. He was tripped by his companion and fell to the ground. The orcs in front wanted to go back and help him up, but they were afraid of something. In the end, they followed the main group and left the injured orc behind. Shisheng soon saw what was chasing them. It was a human. Humans flying on swords. They were wearing clothes and could even ride swords. If they weren't humans, then what were they? There shouldn't be any humans in this dimension. In the end, the female lead and the male lead 1 2 3 4 5 lived a blissful life. No humans appeared at all. So where did this group of people come from? Flipping the table, what are you doing? They're humans. The eagle that was being carried upside down suddenly spoke. They're very powerful. Why aren't you running? You know about humans? Shisheng glanced at the eagle. Not long ago, they came from the extreme north. They call themselves humans. They're very powerful. The eagle quickly said, hurry up and run. You can't beat them. There were a total of 3 people chasing the group of beastmen. They were wearing the same green robes. They should be from the same sect or sect. They were flying on swords. In other words, they were cultivators? And what happened to the beastmen's culture? What happened to the primitive world? Why did they switch channels? Couldn't they play properly? Leader. The 2 beastmen also became nervous. What are you afraid of? Shisheng arrogantly snorted. Can they be more powerful than me? The eagle. Even the king didn't dare to be so arrogant. This little tiger was really something. No wonder the king thought so highly of her. The 3 people quickly reached them. Seeing that there were a few beastmen who weren't running, they immediately stopped. Shisheng was wearing clothes. They hesitated for a moment and sized him up. May I ask which sect this little junior sister is from? Which sect are you from? We're from the Tianhai sect. The 3 people didn't suspect anything. Tianhai sect? I'm from Tiananmen Square. What about you, little junior sister? Shisheng said seriously. Actually, I'm not human. She felt like she was saying that she wasn't human. But she really wasn't human. The three people. Not human? Then she was a beast man? Then why are you wearing our clothes? Did you harm the owner of the clothes? One of the young men pointed at Shisheng and scolded. Shisheng, it's none of your business what I wear. Damn it. How could he accuse I of harming someone without any evidence? Was this the loss of morality, or the distortion of human nature? The young man with the slanted eyebrows roared. Give me your life, demon beast. Shisheng. Holy shit. You want to kill me without saying anything. I haven't even made a move yet. The three young men thought that it would be easy to deal with Shisheng, but they realized that they were wrong. The demon beast in front of them wasn't that easy to deal with. More importantly, she had a sword. When the three young men were tied up by Shisheng, they were still dumbfounded. The young man with the slanted eyebrows had the worst temper. Even though he was tied up, he couldn't hold back his anger. Who are you? Are you a spy from another sect? Are you lying to us? Shut up. Shisheng kicked him. Answer my question. How did you get in? What are you doing here? The thin young man beside the slanted eyebrows looked at Shisheng suspiciously. Are you really not human? Do I look like a human to you? Shisheng. Maybe I'm poisoned too. Why did I say that out of the blue? Since he had already said it, Shisheng had to keep a straight face and pretend to be cool. Shisheng bullied them for a while before he finally learned the ins and outs of the matter. 3 months ago, the Qianyuan continent. Well, the world outside of them. There was a sudden prophecy from the Qianyuan continent that a divine weapon would appear in the spirit-extinguishing secret realm. The spirit-extinguishing secret realm was a secret realm that had never been opened before. There were demonic beasts that had been exiled a long time ago. After the demonic beasts entered, they gradually lost their demonic abilities and could only rely on a Bodhi tree to transform. Some of the orcs' bloodline became weaker and weaker. Their transformation failed, and they became normal animals, becoming food for the orcs. If it wasn't for this prophecy, no one would have thought of such a secret realm. What's the name of the person who made the prophecy? She dared to bet with Buttface that it was definitely that idiot Mubai. A normal plot wouldn't have such a huge deviation. The system. Why did it have to be implicated now? Why don't you bet with the iron sword if you dare? The young man with the slanted eyebrows was gasping for breath. The young master of the Tai Chi sect. He's here too. He's here. Where is he? The three young men shook their heads at the same time. We came in together, but when we entered the secret realm, we were sent to different places. How long can you stay here? Secret realms usually had a time limit. The thin young man raised 2 fingers. 2 months. Shisheng narrowed his eyes. You're here to look for a divine weapon. Why are you chasing after orcs? The slanted eyebrows retorted. They robbed us first. Chapter 1308. Shisheng reckoned that the spirit energy she suddenly felt was when they came in. But she had only sensed the spirit chi then. There's no spirit chi here. How did you manage to fly your swords? The three young men were dumbfounded. Yes, there is spirit chi here. One of the beast men seemed to remember something. The spiritless secret realm is only for beasts. It doesn't work on humans. Shisheng. How dare they discriminate against her because she wasn't human? She couldn't live like this anymore. Shisheng glanced at the three young men. So what if you're human? The three young men. They didn't say she wasn't human. They didn't dare to make a sound because of how fierce Shisheng was. The beastmen they had met before were so weak that they could be killed with 1 finger. But this beastman was so strong that it made their hair stand on end. They might have met a fake beastman. Chao Yang rushed back with the beastmen. When he saw the three young men, who were dressed like him, tied up, he immediately asked, Chief, what happened? They had seen the fireworks that Shisheng had shot into the sky. They had never seen anything like that before, but they had rushed back because it was in the direction of Shisheng. The beastmen behind them stared at the three young men warily. The three young men. They were the ones who should be on guard now. Shisheng briefly told Chao Yi what had happened. Chief, you mean, there's another world outside of our world? Chao Yi was a little confused. If it's really like what they said, why didn't the beastmen pass this down? Since they were originally from the outside world, wouldn't the original orcs have recorded this down? How do you know? Shisheng raised his eyebrows and looked at him. This place was just the most remote area. It was equivalent to a poor mountainous area. The important secrets must be in the hands of the central government. How could small fries like them know about it? That was stupid. Chao Yi. Shisheng looked down on him. Although he didn't know why his chief was looking down on him, he was definitely right. Shisheng asked Chao Yi to get rid of the 3 young men. Chao Yi was confused and asked her what he should do. These 3 people wanted to kill her just now. Of course, she wouldn't let them leave alive and cause trouble for her. After dealing with the 3 of them, Chao Yi threw their corpses into a patch of grass. Not long after he left, a figure emerged from the weeds and found the place where the corpse was thrown. Lin Qiqi covered her mouth with both hands and her eyes were filled with shock. Was this a human? There really were humans. She checked the pulse of the 3 men. They were all dead. Ling Xi's sword must have belonged to a human. She had undergone such a huge transformation, so it must be related to humans. Lin Qiqi's mind spun quickly. She endured her fear and picked up a sword from under a corpse. When she turned around, she accidentally kicked the waist of a corpse and kicked out a small bag. The things inside rolled out. Among them, there was a ring that was very simple and unadorned. It was dusky, as if it was a shareholder that had been sealed underground for 100 years. For some reason, Lin Qiqi took off that ring. A cold wind blew over, and the weeds swayed. It swept past Lin Qiqi's neck. Lin Qiqi's scalp turned numb. She was so shocked that she took a step back. She pressed her hand on the sword on the ground, and immediately cut open a hole. Blood soaked into the ring and it successfully recognized her as its owner. The ring took the initiative to put on her hand. Lin Qiqi couldn't take it off no matter what. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose, but I can't take it off. Lin Qiqi really couldn't take it off. She could only bow to the corpse. I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to take your things. Cold wind kept blowing over. There were 3 dead people in front of her. Lin Qiqi panicked and hurriedly picked up the sword on the ground and ran away. Ever since Shisheng discovered those 3 young men, beastmen encountered humans one after another. The humans slaughtered the beastmen and interrogated them about the whereabouts of the divine artifact. The beastmen didn't dare to go out. She was in charge of Shisheng's people every time they went out. If they encountered humans, they would only be unlucky. Humans had entered this place for 2 months, but Shisheng realized that after 2 months, they met more and more humans. These humans didn't leave at all. Later on, Shisheng found out that the 2 months they mentioned were 2 years according to the time in this place. The flow of time in the outside world was different from that in this mystic realm. Damn it. In the beginning, the humans planned to look for the divine artifact, but there was no news of it at all. Instead, they discovered that there were many rare spiritual herbs and spirit stones in the mystic realm. The humans began to crazily snatch these spiritual herbs and spirit stones. But this kind of behavior was a little retarded in the eyes of the beastmen. Leader, why are they snatching a pile of grass? Ruyue and Shisheng stood on the hillside and looked at the people fighting below. They asked Shisheng curiously. Shisheng thought for a while and replied seriously, maybe they want to eat grass. Is it delicious? Ruyue tilted her head. There's so much grass on the ground. Why do they have to snatch that pile? Is that pile more delicious? Shisheng looked melancholic. I don't understand the thinking of retarded people. Perhaps because they had encountered too many humans. All kinds of rumors had spread among the beastmen. Everyone knew that these people in clothes were humans. When they encountered such invaders, they had to take a detour. Leader, it's the White Tiger tribe. Ruyue suddenly tugged at Shisheng's clothes. Shisheng looked over. Bayan brought Lin Qiqi and a few beastmen, and collided with the group of cultivators who were snatching the grass. They were too far away. Shisheng couldn't hear what they were saying, but it didn't take long for the 2 sides to start fighting. Lin Qiqi had a sword in her hand. When she waved it, There was a faint spiritual aura. She was a human. So the plot allowed these humans to enter. Was it actually to give the female lead a golden finger? It couldn't be like this. Lin Qiqi was at most a beginner now. Compared to that group of cultivators, she was far inferior. In just a few moves, she was caught by the cultivators. They threatened Lin Qiqi and asked Bayan to stop. Bayan crashed into that cultivator. Lin Qiqi broke free from her restraints and quickly ran toward Shisheng. Lingxi, help! Lin Qiqi shouted at Shisheng. When the cultivators who were chasing saw someone in the distance, they sped up their pursuit. When Lin Qiqi ran down the hill, they caught up with her, and she fell to the ground in a sorry state. The cultivators stopped behind her and looked at the big and small girl on the hill warily. The older girl looked to be only 16 or 17 years old. She was wearing their human clothes, but the style was different from what they wore outside. The younger one looked to be only 5 or 6 years old. She was wearing a leopard print dress and looked petite and cute. Lingxi, help! Your brother has been caught by them. Lin Qiqi spoke very quickly. Her face was full of anxiety, as if she was really asking Shisheng for help. Lin Qiqi knew that Shisheng was very powerful. These people were targeting her. She would definitely make a move and she would be saved. Chapter 1309. I have nothing to do with them. You can do whatever you want. Shisheng immediately expressed his position. Damn it, the female lead was so powerful. She even wanted to rely on herself to be saved. They looked at each other a few times. This little girl saw that they were too calm, and there was an arrogant self-confidence between their brows. Their intuition told them that this person couldn't be provoked. The cultivators were suspicious for a moment. They tentatively took a few steps forward while observing Shisheng's reaction. Seeing that he didn't move, they stepped forward and dragged Lin Qiqi to their side. Lingxi. Lin Qiqi struggled. Lingxi, you can't leave me in the lurch. Hurry up and take her away. Shisheng waved at those cultivators. Lin Qiqi almost couldn't catch her breath. Lingxi, it's fine if you don't save me, but you have to save your brother, right? He's your brother, your biological brother. I've already broken off my relationship with him. Shisheng spread his hands. In the next second he shouted at those cultivators fiercely, "Are you leaving or not? If not, I'll make a move." The cultivators immediately dragged Lin Qiqi back. Lin Qiqi's eyes were filled with disbelief. She didn't expect Shisheng to be so ruthless. Shisheng watched as Lin Qiqi was dragged back. Bayan had already been captured. They seemed to be discussing something and looked at Shisheng from time to time. Shisheng stood taller than them, and could see a pack of wolves approaching them from afar. The second male lead had come to save the female lead. Hey! Shisheng waved over. Seeing that someone was looking at her, she pointed in a direction. There are wolves. Everyone was speechless. Shisheng clearly felt a sharp gaze land on her, as if he wanted to cut her into pieces. The location of the wolf pack was exposed. Countless wolves pounced out of the wild grass and entangled with that group of cultivators. Feng Yan took the opportunity to save Lin Qiqi. When he wanted to save Bayan, he realized that the cultivators over there had almost killed the wolf pack. He could only retreat with Lin Qiqi first. Feng Yan, Bayan. Lin Qiqi grabbed Feng Yan's shoulder. The anxiety on her face didn't seem fake. We can't leave Bayan behind. It's too late. I'll send you to a safe place first before thinking of a solution, Feng Yan quickly said. Lin Qiqi turned her head and looked behind her. The howls of wolves and the murderous sounds of cultivators waving their weapons constantly rang in her ears. She unconsciously grabbed Feng Yan's shoulders tightly, her nails sinking into his muscles. Her eyes were filled with emotions. It was all because she was too weak. The cultivators sent a representative to talk to Shisheng. Thank you for your reminder, Mississippi. The representative's attitude was quite good. May I know what grudge you have with those orcs? She wouldn't remind them for no reason, and the previous conversation allowed them to catch a glimpse of the truth. I don't have a grudge against them. I just don't like them. Shisheng glanced at the representative and said bluntly, "If you have something to say, say it. If not, get lost." Representative. The representative put his hand to his lips and coughed. Miss, it's like this. It's our first time here, and we're not familiar with this place. Would you be interested in being our guide? Shisheng raised his eyebrows and the smile on his face deepened. The representative suddenly felt a little short of breath. He didn't even have the courage to look up at her. Superiors always gave people a sense of oppression, just like now. This young lady's status in the orcs was probably not low. Her voice rang out. Do you know what kind of people I can be a guide for? A wind blew on the wasteland for no reason. The wind blew past the weeds like ripples on the waves. It swayed into the bottom of the representative's heart and gave birth to countless chills. Sorry to offend you, Mississippi, the representative was a smart person. You're smart. Shisheng smiled ambiguously. That smile definitely didn't make people feel any warmth. It only made people feel like they were in a dark and narrow passageway, surrounded by the cries and howls of vengeful spirits. Cold sweat broke out on the representative's forehead. He cupped his fists and bowed. Then, I won't disturb you, Mississippi. The representative left quickly and said a few words to his companions. The group of people quickly left with the captured orcs and disappeared into the wasteland. Ah! Ruyu suddenly screamed. Her body turned into a little lion, and she rushed into Shisheng's arms. Shisheng! She looked up and saw Xinglan walking over from the wasteland. Half of his body was covered by weeds. He was tightly wrapped in a feather robe. Light flashed on the surface of his robe. An eagle was circling above his head. The endless weeds behind him became his background. A gentle breeze blew his unbound hair. He was like a flower that bloomed in the wasteland. He was fatally charming. Xinglan stood at the bottom of the hill and looked up at Shisheng. How cruel. Do you want to try it too? Shisheng smiled. No. He didn't want to be scratched by this little tiger. Xinglan's voice was carried by the wind to Shisheng's ears. The situation has changed. My previous suggestion still stands. You can bring your tribe to the northern wilderness. Shisheng retorted. Do you think your northern wilderness tribe is very safe? At least, it's safer than other tribes. Shisheng stared at him for a few seconds. Suddenly his face turned cold. Not interested. Xinglan. How could the little tiger change her face so quickly? Xinglan paused and didn't continue the topic. You caught one of my shapeshifters. Can you give him back to me? Shisheng sneered. I killed him a long time ago. He's still alive, Xinglan said with certainty. It was as if he had seen it with his own eyes. He smiled. The smile on his face could make people do anything for him. His voice was light. If you like him, you can keep him. Shisheng. Who would like an eagle? She looked up and down at Xinglan. Suddenly, she had a bad feeling. Is your real body an eagle? Eagles were the ones that appeared the most around him. Xinglan's expression didn't change. Join the northern wilderness and I'll tell you. In your dreams. I don't want to know what kind of beast you are. Shisheng carried Ryue down the hill. Xinglan stood for a moment and followed him. Ryue seemed to be very afraid of Xinglan. She curled herself into a small ball and buried herself in Shisheng's arms, trembling. Are you that afraid of him? Shisheng pinched Ryue's ear. Ryue shook her ear and said in a soft voice, He's the king of the northern wilderness. Have you seen him before? This little lion was born not long ago. She rarely went out. How could she have seen Xinglan? No, but everyone knows. Only the king of the northern wilderness wears clothes made of feathers. He's a bird man. Ryue. Chief, you'll get beaten up if you talk like that. It's not a good habit to talk behind people's backs. Xinglan's voice came from behind. Didn't I say it in front of you? Shisheng turned to look at her and said very confidently, Xinglan. Shisheng's gaze landed on Xinglan's feather clothes. He had been wrapped in the feather clothes. He didn't know if he was wearing anything underneath. Xinglan seemed to know what Shisheng was thinking. I'm wearing them. Sorry to disappoint you. Shisheng. Why would she be disappointed? Asterisk hashtag begging for votes from the 8 Immortals today number 2017. 04. 11 book review area Little Angel 10 crossing begging for votes every day. Chapter 13:10. Xinglan had been following her. She didn't know what he was thinking. Xinglan only disappeared when Shisheng returned to the foot of the mountain. After that, as long as she went out, Xinglan would appear. He followed her from a distance and didn't speak to her. Sometimes, Shisheng would draw his sword and slash him. Sometimes he wouldn't. Xinglan didn't fight back either. When Shisheng attacked, he ran away and returned not long after. Bian didn't know how he escaped. Anyway, when Shisheng heard the news of him, it was that he and Feng Yan were fighting again. Shisheng didn't know the exact reason, but it was definitely related to Lin Qiqi. After all, Lin Qiqi was forcefully snatched back by Bian. Feng Yan was unhappy that Lin Qiqi was snatched away. He led his orc army and started the battle with Bian. Lin Qiqi was snatched back and forth. She became more and more impatient with Bian and Feng Yan. They only knew how to be rough with her and didn't care about her feelings at all. When the two sides were fighting vigorously, Lin Qiqi ran away. She wanted to become stronger. She wanted to leave this place and go outside. Now no one would be able to get it. Lin Qiqi disappeared. Feng Yan and Bian quieted down. But after a few days of peace, it became lively again. In this world, there weren't only orcs living in the wilderness of Mount Huang. There were also cities built by orcs. The orcs living there were gathered together. Bian killed that witch doctor. Unfortunately, that witch doctor was the son of a big shot in Luo Fengcheng. He only learned this because he liked witch doctors. Now that the big shot knew that his son was dead, he brought his troops to find trouble with Bian. He even brought trouble to the orcs in the nearby villages. The big shot had said that these orcs would either submit and follow them back to Luo Fengcheng to be slaves or die here. And those orcs even brought humans with them. They killed beasts without blinking. Very powerful humans. Leader, these orcs are too much. His son was killed by Bian, so why do we have to suffer as well? They even brought humans with them. They actually colluded with humans. Don't they know how many of our kind those humans have killed? Humans are too despicable. That's right. They're still colluding with orcs now. What should we do? Humans suddenly broke into the place where orcs had lived for generations. In addition, many orcs had died in the hands of humans. No matter what the reason for the conflict was, orcs would die in the end. This debt was definitely on the humans. Leader, what should we do now? Their orc army is huge, and they even have the help of humans. I'm afraid we won't be able to win. Leader. Shisheng was surrounded by a group of beastmen. She waved her hand. Stop. The beastmen immediately fell silent. They looked at Shisheng with gazes of worship and anticipation. Our leader will definitely have a way. Their leader was the most powerful. Shisheng stroked Ryue's hair and said casually, Bian is in front of you. What are you afraid of? How many orcs does Bian's white tiger tribe have? Surely they can't beat them? Shisheng glanced at him and said, Don't belittle yourself by praising others. The beastmen were speechless. You didn't sound impressive at all when you spoke just now. We'll deal with whatever comes our way. What's there to be afraid of? Shisheng crossed his legs. Tell our orcs to gather around here. After Shisheng gave the order, Chowi immediately ordered his orcs to carry it out. All the mountains under Shisheng's name were gathered around Lion Rock. Shisheng went down the mountain and set up a formation at the foot of the mountain. Xinglan somehow avoided the orcs and quietly appeared behind him. Hey, King of the Northern Wilderness, why are you following me instead of conquering the world? Xinglan leaned against a tree and lowered her head slightly. When she heard Shisheng's voice, she looked up and caught sight of him from the corner of her eyes. I need your help. I'm not interested in conquering the world. Shisheng rolled his eyes. How about I split half of the world with you? How about that? Shisheng walked forward. If I want to conquer the world, I'll do it myself. Why should I help you? What do you want? Shisheng suddenly turned around and met his gaze. His lips parted slightly. I want you to be obedient to me, listen to me, and give up everything for me. Shisheng didn't stop. You can't do that, so hurry up and go conquer your world. Don't show up in front of me. I can tolerate you a few times, but who knows when I'll be in a bad mood. The two of them looked at each other across a few trees. The rustling sound of leaves rustling against each other was so clear that it seemed to fall into their hearts. Rustle, rustle, Xinglan lowered her gaze and turned to leave. He walked very slowly. The light elongated his body and cast a distorted shadow on the ground. Just as he was about to step into the sunlight, he paused. He didn't turn around and just stood there quietly. After some time, he leaned forward and the light engulfed him. Only a few rays of light reflected from his feathered robe could be seen. Shishing turned around and continued as if nothing had happened. She knew what kind of person he was, so there was nothing to be disappointed about. What's wrong with the king? I don't know. He's been standing there for almost the whole day. Two beastmen stood behind the forest and looked at the figure in the distance. They were both confused. They had never seen their king like this. Even if something big happened, he would still act like an overlord who had everything under control. Why did he suddenly turn into a gloomy person? That seems to be Lion Rock, right? Beastman A pointed at a mountain in the distance. Beastman B looked in that direction and asked in confusion, "Yes, what's wrong?" Beastman A was gossipy. "The king seems to be looking over there. Do you think it has something to do with that little tiger?" Beastman B was a little hesitant. "It can't be." "Why can't it be? Why did the king take a liking to that little tiger at first sight? The king has never cared so much about anyone before. The king wants that little tiger to help." Beastman A looked at him disdainfully. "When did you see the king need help?" Beastman B scratched his head. It seemed to be true. They had met many capable beastmen, but the king had never taken a second look at them. "I think the bastard has taken a liking to that little tiger. The king has been single for so many years. It's time for him to have a partner. With the king's attitude, how can he catch up with her? Blah blah blah. What are you talking about?" The two beastmen were in a heated discussion and didn't notice that Xinglan, who had been standing in the distance, was already in front of them. When they heard her voice, the two beastmen were startled. "King! King! When did you come?" Beastman B trembled. Heavens, looking at the king now, it was so scary. Xinglan's eyes were cold. Back to the tribe. Beastmen A and B looked at each other. She was going back just like that? She didn't want the little tiger anymore? Beastmen A and B didn't dare to ask any more questions. They turned into eagles and flew into the sky. Xinglan's figure was blocked by the dense trees and gradually disappeared. Chapter 13:11. Luo Fengqing's army swept over from Jiupu Mountain. The mountains not under the Shishang's name were basically miserable. The cultivators found that the vicinity of Lion Rock was very special. Not only could the beasts not enter, the cultivators also couldn't enter. Could this be the birthplace of the divine tool? With this idea, the cultivators naturally wanted to take a look. The cultivators formed a small team and approached Lion Rock. From a distance, they saw a few beastmen walking at the foot of the mountain. This place was quite a distance away from the Lion Rock. The leader made a gesture, indicating that they should capture the beastmen. However, before they could get close to the beastmen, they were blocked by a transparent barrier. The beastmen inside heard the movement and looked over. One of the beastmen shouted, "It's humans." They thought the beastmen would rush over and fight them. Who would have thought that the beastmen would turn around and run into the mountain forest and disappear in the blink of an eye? Cultivators. "So why are you shouting so aggressively? Don't run if you have the ability." The cultivators checked the vicinity of the Lion Rock and found that it was protected by a transparent barrier from top to bottom, making it impossible for them to enter. They tried to break the barrier together, but the barrier bounced back. No matter how hard they tried, it bounced back. There must be a divine tool inside. The cultivators returned to the station and discussed. "But we can't go in now. We can't open it even if we work together. Even if there is a divine tool inside, we can only see it but not get it. Have you noticed that there are a lot of beastmen in Lion Rock?" When they went to check, they encountered beastmen at any time and place. The beastmen reacted the same and ran away when they saw them. "Young Master Yin." "Hello, young Master Yin." Everyone looked up and saw a young man in white coming over with a few guards. His face was a bit immature, but his temperament wasn't comparable to ordinary people. The cultivators got up and saluted. "Young Master Yin." This was the young master of the Tai Chi sect. The Tai Chi sect was famous for their prophecies. This young man was famous on the continent, so everyone believed him when he said there was a mysterious appearance. Young Master Yin smiled faintly. His smile was as warm as a spring breeze. I heard that you found the location of the divine artifact? This? The cultivators looked at each other. The other party was the young master of the Taiji sect, and they couldn't afford to offend him. They could only say, I'm not sure, but that place is a bit strange. Can you bring me there to take a look? Young Master Yun's tone was gentle and courteous, making it hard for others to refuse. The cultivators hesitated for a moment. Young Master Yin, please follow us. They took young Master Yin to Lion Rock. When they went out, they met Luo Fengqing's big shots. The big boss was very angry at this moment. He grabbed them and questioned them. After such a long time, you still haven't caught the murderer who killed my son. Is this how you cooperate? Leopard leader, we will handle this matter well. Give us a bit more time. A cultivator stood up and spoke to the big shot. The others brought young Master Yin past them. The big shots were actually a bit wary of them and didn't dare to go overboard. They could only let those people pass. The cultivators couldn't do anything to Lion Rock for the time being. They could only fulfill their agreement with the big shots and deal with Bayan and the others. With the help of the cultivators, Bayan was quickly caught. The big shots wanted Bayan to be buried with his son. They wanted to burn Bayan to pay with his life. Bayan had been tied to the fire, but at this time, people from another tribe of Luo Fengqing came and said Bayan was their tribe's little prince and couldn't be killed. Just as the two sides were arguing about whether to burn or set fire, a fire suddenly appeared around Bayan. Beside him were piles of flammable dry firewood. Once the fire started, it immediately grew bigger. Everyone's eyes fell on that side. They saw a little girl standing next to the flickering flames, looking at them expressionlessly. There were beastmen all around and no one noticed when she appeared. Lingxi, do you hate me that much? Bayan saw Shisheng start the fire. She just started the fire with an expressionless face. It was as if this was an insignificant matter to her. Bayan couldn't tell what he was feeling. He used to love her very much and she liked to pester him when they were young. But why did it become like this? Shisheng tilted his head, and his voice seemed to freeze the flames. I don't hate you. Hatred was also a very important memory. She didn't need to pay such feelings to someone who didn't matter to her. Then, why are you treating me like this? Was it because of Lin Qiqi? Thinking of Lin Qiqi, a trace of bitterness and regret appeared on Bayan's face. He treated her so well, but in the end, she abandoned him and left. Why was this? Why was all of this? Bai Lingxi. Someone in the Bai family's team clearly knew Shisheng. You're crazy. He's your older brother. You actually set fire to him. Quickly put out the fire. The last sentence was said to the other beastmen. Shisheng's expressionless face revealed a faint smile. It's just a fire. I didn't kill anyone. Why are you so agitated? She wasn't agitated when she set fire to her older brother? How could she be agitated? Ha ha ha, retribution, retribution. Boss Leopard laughed loudly at the side. Stop them. Don't let them put out the fire. Bayan killed my son. She must be buried with my son. That little tiger did a good thing, so I won't pursue the matter. Let her go. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Stop her. Shisheng looked at the chaos over there. Bayan's entire body was drowned in flames. He didn't make a sound and just silently allowed the flames to swallow him. Shisheng had offended the Bai family by setting fire. She was still surrounded outside Lion Rock. The Bai family threatened to punish her. Boss Leopard didn't retreat either. Perhaps he wanted to see what that group of cultivators was doing. After all, a group of strange and especially dangerous races had appeared in their territory. They had to be wary no matter what. In short, it was very lively nearby. The fire at Lion Rock started suddenly and burned especially quickly. The beastmen were forced to the mountain. Shisheng stood high up and looked at the fire expressionlessly. This fire was ignited the moment the array formation was destroyed. Judging from its speed and temperature, it was definitely not an ordinary fire. Take them away from the back mountain. Shisheng instructed Chowie behind him. She always liked to leave a backup plan. It was impossible for her to block her own way. Chief, what about you? Hearing that Shisheng didn't intend to leave, Chowie looked at Shisheng in astonishment. Shisheng drew out the iron sword. I'm going to meet a retard. Chief. Ryua hugged Shisheng's thigh. The fire is so big. Can you come with us? Shisheng pinched her face. Do I look so easy to bully? Ryua thought for a moment and said crisply. No, Chief is the most powerful. I like Chief the most. Chapter 13:12. All the beastmen retreated from the back of the mountain. Shisheng stood alone at the top of the mountain. Eagles were circling in the sky. Xinglan jumped down from a particularly large eagle and landed in front of Shisheng. Why are you here? Xinglan was silent for a moment. Are you really not going to consider joining the Northern Wilderness tribe? If that's all you want to say, please go back. Shisheng walked down the mountain with his sword in hand. Xinglan reached out to grab him, but didn't know what to say. He slowly let go. He didn't even know why he was here today. What could he say? Shisheng went down the mountain without looking back. My king. Orque came down from the sky. The fire is very big. Let's leave. Xinglan looked at the burning fire below. After a while she said, let's go back. Shisheng walked through the fire and reached the bottom of the mountain. The cultivators at the foot of the mountain were already staring at her warily. Shisheng's gaze swept the surroundings before landing on the young man slightly behind them. The young man smiled and walked out of the crowd. The cultivators stepped aside. Shisheng looked him up and down. Oh, why are you so bold this time? Why did he appear in front of her so casually? The young man smiled elegantly. Of course I have something to rely on. Do you think you can win? Shisheng raised his eyebrows. How do you know if you don't try? Mubai stared straight at Shisheng. The smile on his face was still warm and gentle. Mubai raised his hand. Light seeped out from between his fingers. He turned his palm in the air, and a small ball of spiritual energy formed. Shisheng. F***ck. I forgot that this world has restrictions on beastmen. They can't use spiritual energy. Mubai must have been planning this for a long time. Damn it. Does he think he can kill I just like this? Dream on. Mubai quickly expanded the ball of spiritual energy in his hand and threw it at Shisheng. Shisheng thought he was going to hit her, but she found that Mubai's expression was a bit strange. She immediately gave up on her original plan of dodging. She stepped on the iron sword and rushed into the sky. The ball of spiritual chi exploded in front of where Shisheng had been standing. Like a fuse, a spiderweb-like object appeared on the ground at a speed visible to the naked eye. It covered a very wide area. From above, Shisheng looked as if the lion rock was in the middle of a huge spider web. Mubai had high-tech props on him. It was not impossible for him to set up such a big stage without being noticed by the orcs. However, the spiderweb did not stop there. It continued to extend into the distance, and flashes of light could be seen from time to time. With a flash of light, the spiderweb continued to extend into the distance like a string. What happened? What is this? What is young Lord Yin doing? What did he mean by that orc? Why can't I understand a single word? How does young Master Yin know the beastmen here? The beastmen were in a mess, while the cultivators were confused. They understood every word the Taiji sect's young master said, but they didn't understand when they were strung together. All sorts of questions swirled in their minds. Shisheng looked for a while, then shouted down. F***ck. You used humans as a medium. Those flashes of light were the key to connecting the entire spiderweb. Mubai probably did not have the time to set them up. So there was only one possibility. The people who came in with him. They were scattered all over the place and were the best medium. Shisheng once again refreshed his bottom line for Mubai. Mubai had no bottom line. He used everyone, but he had never done such a thing before. Mubai looked up at Shisheng. His voice was neither loud nor soft. It's just sacrificing some NPCs. When did you care so much about them? Who cared about the NPCs' lives when they were playing games? Shisheng chuckled. I just didn't expect you to become more and more shameless. I can't live without shame. Mubai sighed. When he played with her, he didn't even know what shame was anymore. Shisheng's mouth twitched. What, do you want to drag me down with you? He had created such a big scene and started planning before he even came in. He was really something. I have to go first. Wait too long. What do you mean you have to go first? You created such a big scene, and you want to go first? Are you not letting down those NPCs who were sacrificed? Are you sure you're not here to make fun of me? Mubai quickly took out a knife and slit his wrist. Shisheng. No, you want me to bear all this alone? I can't bear it. Fresh blood flowed from Mubai's wrist. He looked up at Shisheng. A mysterious smile appeared on his young face. It was very scary. Mubai's wrist moved, and the first drop of blood fell. It was as if there was a suction force underground. Mubai's body shriveled up almost instantly. The originally white spiderweb was slowly turning red. Suicide attack. Suicide attack. These were the only words left in Shisheng's mind. That idiot Mubai was really getting more and more playful. Rumble. The ground began to tremble. A black hole appeared in the ground. The surrounding trees and rocks collapsed. Countless red crescent moons rose from the spiderweb and danced in the air. Regardless of whether it was humans or beastmen, whether it was plants or rocks, they were all sliced in half by the red crescent moons. Shisheng weaved through the dense red crescent moons. The sky was filled with red crescent moons. She had no choice but to land on the ground. Most of the red crescent moons gathered around her, as if they had recognized her as their master. Shisheng. Mubai, this idiot, always left her with a bunch of trouble. Was he here to cause trouble for her or to kill her? Damn it. Did he have any professional ethics? Run. Run. The screams of the beastmen and the curses of the cultivators overlapped. Only then did the cultivators realize that they had been tricked. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The iron sword suddenly began to tremble violently. The body of the sword was quickly dyed red. Strange patterns could be vaguely seen on the surface of the sword. Buzz, buzz. The iron sword began to tremble even more violently. Shisheng dodged the red crescent moons while checking the iron sword. What are you doing? The only response to Shisheng was the rapid and intense buzzing of the iron sword. Shisheng's scalp went numb. Was his body born in the Een year, Een month, Een day and Een hour? Buzz, *CK his uncle. Shisheng gritted his teeth and asked the iron sword. Where are you going? The iron sword's blade was pointing in a direction. Shisheng was a little hesitant. Mubai must have planned this well. If she went there now, there might be something waiting for her. Buzz, buzz. The iron sword's buzzing became ear-piercing. Shut up. Shisheng scolded. The iron sword's buzzing became softer, but it continued to move in that direction. It wanted to go there. Damn it, forget it. If she died, then it was her fate. Of course, she believed in herself more. It would not be that easy to kill her. Shisheng jumped onto the iron sword. With a whoosh, the iron sword flew in that direction. The red crescent moons dancing in the sky were forcibly torn open by it. Chapter 13:13. The speed of the iron sword was so fast that Shisheng felt like he was a retard. The scenery around him flashed by like light and shadow, but he could not see clearly what was going on. After a while, the speed of the iron sword slowed down. Shisheng saw a few red crescent moons in front of him. She bent down and stuck close to the iron sword. The iron sword moved to the side to avoid the red crescent moons. Then it brought Shisheng down to the bottom. It was a mountain that stood alone in the wasteland. From afar, it looked like a monster crawling on the wasteland. The bottom of the mountain was covered with spider webs. Compared to the red light in the distance, this place was brighter. Buzz. The iron sword pointed at the bottom of the mountain. Shisheng was speechless. Wait. Shisheng stopped the iron sword who was about to break through the ground. Let me blow it up first. The iron sword floated in the air and swayed from side to side. The red light moved with her, creating shadows and light. Don't go down if you don't want to. Who knew what that retard Mubai had prepared down there? She refused. The iron sword could not dissuade Shisheng, and agreed to let Shisheng blow it up first. Shisheng stepped on the iron sword and flew up. He took out an energy ball and threw it down. The dust from the explosion covered the entire mountain. The spider webs on the ground were affected by the explosion. They dimmed and looked like they were about to break. Shisheng continued to throw energy balls. The entire mountain was flattened. After a while, the dust settled. Shisheng saw that there was nothing strange and went down. She asked the iron sword to go down by itself. The iron sword made a buzzing sound and crawled into the big hole created by the explosion. Shisheng looked at the flickering spider webs under his feet. What on earth was this? At this moment, the spider webs started to wriggle. Tentacles grew out of the webs and wrapped around Shisheng's feet. They clung to his upper legs and started to climb up rapidly. Shisheng was speechless. Shisheng quickly pulled out another sword and slashed at the tentacles. Although the sword cut off the tentacles, new tentacles quickly grew out and surrounded Shisheng. The red crescent moons dancing in the sky converged to form a gigantic crescent moon. The crescent moon flew toward Shisheng with a murderous aura. There were strange tentacles below and a crescent moon above, full of murderous intent. The iron sword had been lured away. Mubai, this idiot, is really good at scheming. Wherever the iron sword went, there would definitely be traps. No matter what she chose, Mubai was prepared. Very good. Shisheng cut off the tentacles around her and ran away. The crescent moons continued to chase after her. More and more large crescent moons formed in the sky. From 1 to 2, 2 to 3. Host, do you need to purchase items? It was rare for the system to see Shisheng in such a sorry state. How could it not gloat? No need. Shut up. Shisheng could summon the iron sword back, but the iron sword wanted to level up. If she summoned it back now, it would be hard to get another chance to level up. Bang bang. Shisheng threw out an energy ball and blasted away the tentacles that were blocking her way. Strangely, even though a large crater had been blasted out, the spider web did not break. It was just that the light had dimmed a lot. This thing can't be alive, right? Shisheng suddenly remembered something. She felt like she was not stepping on a spider web, but a mountain of knives and a sea of fire. There was a creature called the ghost spider. They were not spiders, but they were given this name because they could weave a hunting ground that looked like a spider web. Their food was spiritual energy. The strength of spiritual energy directly affected one's soul. Moreover, they reproduced quickly. It only took a day for them to occupy a planet. She was not using her own body now, so Mubai used this method, damn it. Because of the red crescent moons in the sky, she thought it was an array. She did not expect Mubai to set up 2 arrays. Foul. This was a F*King foul. How did Mubai, that idiot, get this thing in here? That's right. This was a virtual plane. Shisheng's eyes lit up. Even if it was really a virtual plane, it was just a pile of data. However, even if it was a pile of data, it could kill her. Flip table. Damn you, Mubai. Shisheng gritted her teeth and cursed Mubai's entire family. They were supposed to be in the original Orc dimension. Why did it suddenly change to an interstellar dimension? It was practically a universe. This was a violation of the rules, you know? How infuriating. Shisheng took a deep breath and quickly calculated in her mind. Now she had to find the nest of the ghost spider and kill the mother spider that controlled all the ghost spiders. The ghost spider was one of the creatures Shisheng hated the most. It was not difficult to kill, but it was especially hard to find. Most of the time, by the time you found it, it had already killed most of your people. However, with those crescent moons in the sky, it was not easy to find the nest. Forget it. Let's just destroy the dimension. #host will destroy the dimension without a word hashtag. Shisheng was already prepared to destroy the dimension, but she had to wait for the iron sword to come out. So now she had to run for her life. At this moment, the whole world was in such a situation. The ground was constantly cracking and mountains were collapsing. The orcs seemed to have gone crazy. They returned to their original forms and fled everywhere. The goal of the cultivators was much better than the headless beastmen. They all headed towards the far north. The cultivators could fly on their swords. Most of the crescent moons in the sky were converging in one direction. There were fewer in other places. It was easy for them to avoid these crescent moons in the sky. Please take me with you. A girl was tugging at a cultivator. The cultivator pushed the girl away. Get lost. The cultivator stepped on the sword and flew into the sky. The girl grabbed the cultivator beside her again. Please take me with you. Take me out. That cultivator's reaction was similar to the first one. It was too late for him to escape now. Who would bring a burden along? The girl was ruthlessly rejected. She fell to the ground in a sorry state. The vibration of the ground scared her. She was Lin Chichi. Ever since she left Bayan, she met a group of cultivators. When that group of cultivators saw that she was alone, they treated her quite well at first. She also learned some things from that group of cultivators. But not long after, some cultivators touched her. She didn't comply. They actually snatched her ring and weapon and raped her together. She hadn't escaped from that group of people yet when she encountered this matter. Lin Chichi didn't understand why she encountered such a thing either. No, she didn't want to die. Lin Chichi restrained her hatred. Her limbs went soft as she got up and ran to a safe place with some orcs in front of her. The surrounding orcs were constantly cut into pieces by the red crescent moons. Blood splashed onto Lin Chichi's body. That warm liquid was sticky and the smell of blood assailed her nose. It was evil. Her vision seemed to have turned blood red. Lin Chichi touched her face and didn't dare to stop. If she stopped, she would die. Her ears were filled with panicked roars and screams. Lin Chichi covered her ears and ran forward with all her might. Chapter 13-14. No one knew how long this sudden disaster would last. Fortunately, the earthquake had stopped. But soon, they realized that the spider webs all over the ground started to extend their tentacles and attack them. In order to avoid the tentacles, most of the beastmen retreated to the mountain that hadn't collapsed yet. Those tentacles could only be on the ground and couldn't reach the mountain. The beastmen found high places and barely had a chance to catch their breaths. The beastmen had to worry about food again. At special times, they naturally had to treat them differently. Without food, they could only attack the injured beastmen who were about to die. At first, there were still beastmen who objected. But when hunger struck, their objections seemed so pale. Lin Chichi hid in a corner and watched as those people ate raw meat. Her stomach churned. There were also beastmen who fought over food. In the end, it developed into a fight. The scene was chaotic. At this time, there was naturally a strong party who stood out to be the boss. Soon the chaos was suppressed. But all the beastmen had to be obedient. The boss had the final say in the allocation. It was still dangerous outside. The only change was that there were fewer blood-colored crescent moons. Only a few blood-colored crescent moons could be seen flying past occasionally. But they still didn't dare to go down the mountain. The foot of the mountain was filled with those strange tentacles. If they went down, they would be caught. As long as the flying beastmen rose into the air, they would be attacked by the blood-colored crescent moons that suddenly appeared. They couldn't leave the mountain at all. The food decreased day by day. The boss started to let the beastmen mate. Who knew how long this would last? What if there was no more food? Lin Chichi had always been hiding in a corner and wasn't very conspicuous. But this time, as long as it was a female, it didn't matter if she was good-looking or not. Lin Chichi was naturally no exception. The male beastmen had to make all the females pregnant. They couldn't stop until they were pregnant. Lin Chichi was a human. How could she withstand such torment? She was only left with despair and pain. Shisheng sat in a cave and looked at the red crescent moons that kept flashing past in front of her. She was extremely melancholic. The iron sword had been in for so long, but he actually hadn't come out yet. She was about to grow fur from waiting. Shisheng waited for a few more days. She realized that the red crescent moons had decreased and were no longer gathering towards her. Shisheng probably thought that her talisman had isolated her aura, and those red crescent moons couldn't find their target. She took out a few more talismans and pasted them. At noon, Shisheng suddenly heard the sound of orcs running in the distance. She raised her eyebrows. How dare these orcs run down there? Shisheng poked her head out to look at the source of the sound. A group of orcs were running towards her, and behind them were long tentacles that were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. Level up? Well, there were so many orcs in this world. It would be unreasonable if they didn't level up. Shisheng had intended to ignore them, but when she saw the orc running in front of her, her mouth twitched. Shisheng went down from the cave and stood in front of the protective screen made of talisman paper. The orcs on the other side also ran closer. When they saw Shisheng, they were so excited that tears filled their eyes. Leader, it's the leader. It really is the leader. Ah. Leader, save me. Leader. The Shisheng let them in. Shisheng didn't let in the orcs that she didn't know. When the orcs realized that they couldn't enter, they immediately started cursing. However, the thing that was chasing after them didn't give them time to curse. They quickly ran into the distance and soon disappeared in front of Shisheng. The orcs that entered fell to the ground one after another. Their hands and feet were weak. They thought that they were going to die. Ruyu ran directly to Shisheng. Leader, I thought that I would never see you again. Ruyu, come down. Chao Yi carried Ruyu away. Leader, are you okay? Shisheng shook her head and glanced at the orcs present. Are there only so few of you left? Chao Yi's expression changed slightly. Most of the orcs are scattered. There are only so many of us. Well, there are fruits on the mountain. If you are hungry, go and eat them. Shisheng just asked casually. She carried Ruyu back again and stroked her slightly fluffy hair. It was a bit difficult to let carnivores eat fruits. However, food was so hard to find now. It was good to have fruits to eat. A group of orcs ran up the mountain, as if they were afraid that the fruits would be gone if they were too slow. I'm hungry too. Ruyu held Shisheng's hand with her claws and looked at her pitifully. Shisheng rummaged in the space and pulled out a few packets of small jerky from nowhere. She handed them to Chao Yi. Chao Yi had never seen such a novel packaging. He was a little nervous and took them. Shisheng tore open the packaging and handed the jerky inside to Ruyu. The jerky had been processed. The taste had changed a lot, but it was still very fragrant. Ruyu ate happily. Leader is the best. These days, Ruyu was carried by Chao Yi most of the time. Otherwise, she would have died. She ate 2 mouthfuls and handed the jerky to Chao Yi. Brother, have some. Chao Yi wanted to reach out and touch his sister. However, he didn't dare to touch her when he saw her in Shisheng's arms. He could only shake the jerky in his hand. I have some. You can eat it. Leader, do you want some? Ruyu looked up at Shisheng again. No. Ruyu began to eat the jerky seriously. Chao Yi followed Shisheng up the mountain slowly. He couldn't help but ask, Leader, do you know what these things are? You won't understand even if I tell you. Anyway, they are deadly. Shisheng didn't want to explain to him about the strange creatures in the interstellar. When Chao Yi saw Shisheng let them in so calmly, he knew that Shisheng must know something. However, since Shisheng didn't want to tell him, he couldn't force him to ask. He could only change the question. Is there any way to deal with them? Yes. Chao Yi's eyes lit up. Really? Yes. What's the way? Shisheng glanced at him and said bluntly, You can't do it. With the ability of the orcs, dealing with the ghost spiders was suicide. They would be killed before they could even get close to the ghost spiders. Chao Yi understood Shisheng's meaning. She didn't want to get rid of these things. This leader was very violent from the beginning. She didn't want to admit defeat and talked with her fists. But similarly, she didn't show that she cared about these things. These orcs were like objects in her eyes. They were not important at all. Chao Yi pondered for a moment. This is our home. Even if I can't do it, I want to try. I want to protect Ruyu. Please tell me how to do it. He didn't dare to ask Shisheng for help. If she wanted to do something, she would have done it long ago. She wouldn't just stand here and watch. Shisheng tilted her head. There was a crescent moon passing by above. The red light flashed through her pupils like a meteor. It caused ripples in her eyes, but it quickly returned to silence. She asked, Are you going to die? He answered, Someone has to go. Asterisk cherub in the book review area on 4/12/2017 hashtag, asking for catnip votes today hashtag, asking for monthly votes hashtag. Chapter 13-15. I don't know where it is. It could be anywhere in this world. It's not easy to find it. I can only tell you how to identify the spirit spiders you have to kill. Chow Yi listened attentively to Shi Sheng's words, taking note of every detail she said. You have to kill it in one shot. Don't give it a chance to fight back. Otherwise you'll die. Shi Sheng crossed her arms and leaned against the rock. Do you still want to go now? Killing the spirit spiders was a difficult task even for a well-trained superpower user, let alone a primitive orc who had never seen such a creature before. Chow Yi was silent for a long time. If I don't go, this world will be over. If I go, there might be a chance. Shi Sheng's mouth curved into a mocking smile. She looked at Chow Yi for a moment, and began to take things out of her space. Host, how many things did you steal from the Galactic Alliance's special forces? Shi Sheng thought for a while. Not much. I just emptied their storage. Uft. How could a storehouse not be considered much? The Galactic Alliance's special forces storage was enough to equip an army. How could you say it was not much? You even use such an annoying tone. You're on their blacklist. Isn't your name so black that it's almost red? Shi Sheng taught Chow Yi how to put on the equipment. After you go out, press this button. They'll treat you as one of their kind and won't attack you. You'd better follow a line because all lines are connected to the end point. Do you understand? Shi Sheng told him how to use the other equipment one by one. Most of them were used to avoid detection by the spirit spiders. There were not many weapons. Even if Shi Sheng gave him the weapons, he would not be able to learn them in a short time. Therefore, Shi Sheng gave him an explosive item, an energy ball. It was a good item for escaping and attacking. Chow Yi wanted to go out and deal with the damn thing outside. The other orcs surrounded him. Some of them volunteered to accompany him. They were very determined. Chow Yi had to surrender to Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng pointed at the equipment on the ground. Chow Yi compared the equipment with the ones he had and divided them. There were 4 of them. Chow Yi picked 4 orcs who didn't have anything to worry about. He waited for everyone to familiarize themselves with the equipment, experiment outside, and familiarize themselves with it. Only then did Chow Yi leave with his men. Don't worry, everyone. We will definitely destroy them. The team of 5 waved to the people on the mountain. Wait for us to come back. The beastmen all came forward to hug them. We'll be waiting for your return. Brother. Ryua hugged Chow Yi tightly. Chow Yi patted her head. Don't cause trouble for the leader. You have to listen to the leader, okay? Brother will be back soon. Yes. Ryu nodded heavily with tears in her eyes. The team of 5 walked out of the barrier and entered the world filled with red light. They walked for a distance, but no tentacles attacked them. Everyone watched as they walked away. Do you believe they will succeed? Does it matter? After all, once the Iron Sword appeared, she would destroy this world. Host, can't you have some compassion? Don't you think their actions are very touching? Love. I really don't have any. Cold-blooded, heartless, cruel scum, insane, inhumane. The system said a few words in a row. Shi Sheng. You speak as if this is the first time you know. I have nothing to say to that. It's not that I want to criticize you, but you asked me to have compassion for a group of NPCs. Buttface, are you sure there's nothing wrong with this? If there's something wrong with you, ask your retarded master to save you. Maybe you can still be saved. You're the one who's sick. You're the one who's sick. They have been with you for so long. You obviously have the ability to save them. Why do you have to do this kind of thing? Shi Sheng rolled his eyes. Please, I play games to make myself happy, not to make the NPCs happy. Master, this scum can't be taught. The system doesn't want to play anymore. The system was so angry that it went offline. Shi Sheng didn't comment on whether Chow Yi and the others could kill the ghost spider or not. He didn't say whether he believed it or not. No matter if it was a human or an orc, their potential was infinite. Who knew if there would be a big explosion in the end? So it was better not to jump to such conclusions. The Iron Sword didn't come out for a long time. Shi Sheng was so bored that he and Ryu squatted on the ground and pulled the grass. Why isn't Bai Xian with you? Ryu pulled the grass seriously. We got separated. I don't know if brother Bai Xian is okay. He'll be fine. He's as lucky as me and my brother. Shi Sheng smiled. Bai Xian probably wouldn't survive. It would be a miracle if he could survive. Chief, can this be eaten? Ruyu raised the grass in front of Shisheng. Yes. Shisheng threw the grass in his hand into a basket made of vines. Let's go back. Oh. Ruyu stood up quickly and patted the mud on her body. Chief, will my brother be okay? I don't know. My brother will be fine. The little girl looked determined and her eyes were shining. My brother is as powerful as the chief. Maybe. It was a multiple-choice question. It was either life or death. Shisheng didn't expect to see Xiong Sanmei again. Moreover, she brought a man with her. Xiong Sanmei hugged Shisheng and held. Tigress, you don't know how much effort I put in to bring him to you. Shisheng, how the hell did you get here? When the orcs found Xiong Sanmei, she was already at the foot of the mountain. Shisheng made a space for anyone to walk on, and there were no spider webs. After howling, Xiong Sanmei remembered that there was a man with her. Why does the king of the northern wilderness have to find you? Who are you talking about? The king of the northern wilderness. Xiong Sanmei was startled by Shisheng's sudden change of expression. Only then did Shisheng turn her gaze to the motionless man next to Xiong Sanmei. He was wearing cultivator's robes and his hair was tied up. His entire body was filthy, making it impossible to tell that he was a cultivator. Is he dead? No. Xiong Sanmei quickly turned him over and patted his chest. Look, he's still alive. Shisheng. If he woke up and saw her patting him, he would kill her. Where did you pick him up? Xiong Sanmei scratched her head. It's near Jipu Mountain. Originally, I wanted to pick it up to see if it could be eaten. Who knew that he would suddenly wake up and grab onto me like a madman, mumbling your name. Since you're not loyal, I can't not be loyal, so I brought it over to you. Tell me first. How did you know I was here? The lion on the Lion Mountain. I think it was called, what was it called? I don't remember. Anyway, a lion told me. Xiong Sanmei scratched her head. Shisheng understood that Xiong Sanmei met Chowie. He gave me this. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get here. Xiong Sanmei pointed at the equipment on her feet. This is amazing. Those weird things outside don't attack me. Chapter 13-16. Anyway, it's not you. Shisheng swallowed back the words she wanted to say. Although his personality was too annoying, she couldn't deny that he was a person. Why can't you accept me? Xinglan asked again. Shisheng tilted his head. You don't like me controlling you, and I don't like you controlling me either. But one of us has to compromise. You can be strong, so strong that everyone is afraid of you, but that's only when you're outside. When two people are together, one of them has to be weak. They have to give in and obey unconditionally, instead of plundering and possessing. Obviously, they were in a situation where they both wanted the other to be weak, so it was impossible for them to be together. We're both in the dark, and I want a ray of light. A ray of light that was only for her. Shisheng took a deep breath and drew out a sword. Xinglan's gaze fell on the sword. It wasn't that sword. No wonder she didn't react after so many days. Was that sword not with her? Without that sword, she didn't seem as strong as she thought. However, when the sword came, Xinglan knew he was wrong. That sword was powerful, but it depended on who was using it. Even without that sword, she was still not to be underestimated. Xinglan wanted to dodge, but when the sword came, he changed his mind and let the sword pierce into his body. They looked at each other in silence. The air seemed to freeze at this moment. After a long time, he took a step back and said, "We don't owe each other anything." He couldn't destroy her, nor could he get her so easily. So he chose to leave. This was the result of a night of calm thinking. Xinglan turned around and walked down the mountain. His blood stained the ground red. His feather robe swayed, and his figure gradually became blurry. Clang! The iron sword fell to the ground. Shisheng looked into the distance expressionlessly. His calm eyes reflected the red light. Tigress, are you okay? Xiong Sanmei was standing beside him. She asked carefully, Northern Wilderness King. Don't mention him to me. Shisheng's cold voice interrupted Xiong Sanmei. Xiong Sanmei didn't dare to utter a word. After a while she said, Ruyue is making a big fuss. She's locked in the back. We can't let her out. Xinglan used force to suppress the troublemaking orcs. She occupied the Shisheng for a long time, and locked up the most troublemaking orcs. When Shisheng followed Xiong Sanmei there, Ryue cried herself hoarse. The orcs beside her couldn't comfort her no matter how hard they tried. They were all locked up in a cave. Shisheng discovered that Xinglan was using an array formation. Although the beastmen couldn't sense spiritual energy, the array formation wasn't limited, and was effective against the beastmen. Xinglan was probably a direct descendant of the first batch of demonic beasts that came in. Shisheng silently let them out, and left with Ryue in his arms. The other orcs looked at each other. Later on, the orcs realized that whoever dared to mention the Northern Baron Queen would be in trouble. After that, no orcs dared to mention the Northern Baron Queen in front of the Shisheng. After being trapped for a month, the spiderweb below began to fade in the evening. The red light disappeared and the white light was restored. However, the white light didn't disappear. Countless tentacles grew out, and the whole ground began to shake. The ground sank. Even if Shisheng's mountain was protected by the talisman, it couldn't do anything. Ryue grasped Shisheng's hand tightly. "Chief, I'm scared." Shisheng squatted down and touched her head. "Run with them. Run as far as you can." "Chief, what about you?" Shisheng took out a silver wristwatch and put it on Ryue's wrist. After activating the defense mode, he said slowly, "I'm leaving." Ryue didn't understand. "Chief, will you come to me?" "No." Shisheng stood up. "We won't see each other again." "Maybe why?" Ryue grasped Shisheng's hand tightly. "Chief, why don't you go with us?" Shisheng smiled. "I don't belong here." Ryue looked at her blankly. Ryue still remembered her beautiful smile many years ago. It was the most beautiful smile she had ever seen. That smile was frozen in time. The mountain behind her completely sank. Shisheng slowly walked in the direction where the iron sword disappeared. With every step she took, the silver light splashed and rippled. The tentacles danced around her, but they didn't dare to approach her. She walked to the mountain where the iron sword disappeared. The big pit was still there. Above the big pit, the iron sword was suspended, as if it was waiting for its owner to come and greet it. The red light on the iron sword hadn't faded away. The upgrade hadn't been completed. Shisheng sighed, and called down the iron sword and put it into the space. She took out the black tablet, found a place to sit down, lowered her head, and began to click on it. She couldn't kill men and women to destroy the plane. The iron sword couldn't be used either. She could only rely on advanced technology. The red crescent moon that disappeared quietly appeared, and condensed into a big red crescent moon above Shisheng's head. The red crescent moon finished condensing. The people below didn't seem to notice it. It circled around at a strange speed. A few drops of blood suddenly splashed on Shisheng's tablet, blurring the jumping data on it. Suddenly, a figure fell from the sky. Shisheng stared blankly at the person in her arms. Her mind went blank for a few seconds. The feathers spun from the air and fell down. The sound of the whole world disappeared. Everything disappeared except for the person in her arms. Xinglan reached out and stroked Shisheng's face. Her eyes were full of affection. "If you have to compromise alone, I admit defeat." He admitted defeat. Xinglan tried to force a smile. He remembered the first time he saw her. Even the raging fire couldn't hide her proud figure. Even though he kept telling himself in his heart that he was interested in her ability and not her person, the thought of imprisoning her grew like weeds. That one glance was eternity. She was eternity to him. "I'm willing to be the light in your darkness. I'll walk with you through thorns and loneliness. I'll do whatever you say." Xinglan's hand fell limply. Her eyelids slowly closed, and her head tilted to the side. Shisheng woke up with a start, and reached out to support her head. Her eyes widened. It seemed like something was about to rush out from the depths of her eyes. The crescent moon hit her back, but it shattered instantly as if it had hit something hard. "I don't need you to block for me." Shisheng didn't realize that his hands were trembling. The last progress bar on the tablet under him ran out. "Destroy?" "Yes/no." She moved her finger and clicked on the yes option. Shisheng hugged Xinglan and repeated his words. "I don't need anyone to block for me." The sky collapsed, and everything was buried in darkness. Asterisk the 38th plane ended. 10 unsolved mysteries. What kind of beast is Xinglan? Guess. Chapter 13-17. The system glanced at Shisheng, who was sitting in the corner, and didn't even dare to breathe. She had been like this ever since she came back. If anyone dared to talk to her, she would immediately choke them to death. Shisheng buried her face between her legs and looked a little helpless. The system was a little nervous. The host's change was a little strange. Should it talk? Or should it not talk? Just as the system was thinking about whether to talk to Shisheng, the person on the other side had returned to normal. She took out her tablet and started to work. She didn't cover it, so the system could see the content at a glance. It was still the same progress bar as before, but now it had reached 100%. The page was jumping. Shisheng held her chin and waited. She didn't know where her eyes were focused. Ding. Analysis successful. Do you want to lock on? A soft girl's voice came from the tablet. The system was shocked. It had never heard the tablet make a sound, but this voice was obviously intelligent. Holy crap. Host, how many things do you have? Lock on. Lock on successful. Do you want to leave? Shisheng was silent for a moment. No. Shisheng held the tablet and tapped on it for a while. Her movements were very casual, as if she was just randomly tapping. After a while, Shisheng put away the tablet and looked at the screen in the distance. Buttface was shivering. I'd better look at the information. I have to get rid of this devil quickly. Name, Shisheng. Moral points. 395000 health points, 70 points. 95200 mission level. A mission score. 86 hidden mission. Incomplete hidden mission reward. None side mission. Completed side mission reward. 10,000 points item list. Queen's Crown. Ghost King's Heart. Dark Knight. Kirin Blood. Phoenix Tail Feather. Oh, why did I lose so little points this time? Didn't I destroy the plane in the end? Buttface was deeply poisoned. You're the one who's deeply poisoned. You're sick. Do you want to enter the next plane? Beginning transmission. Everyone knew that Luo Shu had contracted the school's radio station. Asterisk fire. Put out the fire. Call 119. Hey, there's a fire here. Hurry up. The location is. The voice was very far away, as if it had penetrated through several layers of glass. It was hazy and hard to hear clearly. Cough, cough. Shisheng coughed violently. The fire had already reached the bed in front of her. If it went any further, it would burn her body. Shisheng quickly turned over and landed on the other side of the bed. This side of the bed was against the window, and the seam below could be seen clearly. Many people were gathered below. It was the middle of the night, and everyone was wearing pajamas. Some people were neatly dressed, as if they had just returned from a cocktail party. However, other than calling the police, no one dared to step forward. Cough, cough. Shisheng covered his mouth and coughed twice. The room was full of smoke and he couldn't see anything clearly. Shisheng hurriedly opened the window and climbed onto the windowsill. Ah, there's someone there. The onlookers immediately became excited, pointing at the Shisheng and screaming. From the window, they could see that the fire inside was almost reaching its end. Quick, jump down. Jump. The onlookers urged Shisheng one after another. Shisheng only felt that these people's chatter was annoying to death. She wished she could install a jammer on herself. Shisheng was on the 3rd floor of a villa. There was thick grass below, and there were several footholds on the side. Shisheng calculated, released his hand, and jumped to the first foothold outside the windowsill. She grabbed the windowsill with one hand, and only had one foothold. Her whole body seemed to be hanging in mid-air. Her body was flexible enough that Shisheng could reach the second foothold. At this moment, there was a sound of something breaking through the air behind him. A hidden weapon was coming at him. Shisheng's body suddenly tensed up. Where's I's sword? F***CK. The sword is upgrading. Shisheng had to give up the 3rd foothold and jump directly to a balcony on the 2nd floor. Ah. The onlookers below didn't know why Shisheng suddenly jumped. They were so scared that they covered their eyes, fearing that her head would explode if she hit the ground. Sheng threw a talisman in the air. A circle of invisible ripples spread out. Sheng stepped on the talisman and landed accurately on the balcony. She quickly looked at the night sky, the noisy crowd, the car with its headlights on, and the dim street lights. There was nothing strange. F***ck. Which little bastard sneaked up on I? F***ck. The onlookers were relieved to see Sheng standing up on the balcony unharmed. The balcony was so far away from where she was just now. They didn't know how she jumped there. The fire on the second floor was also on fire. It would soon spread to the balcony. Sheng jumped over the balcony and was about to go down to the second floor. Just as she jumped over, another hidden weapon came at her. Sheng quickly retreated to the balcony. A small stone shot through the gap of the balcony and hit the flower pot behind her. The flower pot broke with a crash, scattering mud all over the floor. Sheng. Where's I's sword? It was dark in the distance. Sheng couldn't tell where the person who threw the hidden weapon was hiding. Sheng stuck a talisman on herself and jumped over the balcony again. Again the hidden weapon came at her quickly. However, Sheng didn't dodge and let it hit her. The small stone was rebounded and hit the window of a car in the distance. Sheng jumped from the second floor to the first floor. She looked in the direction of the car. The car had already started and was backing out. Sheng narrowed her eyes and ran quickly toward the car. Of course, in the eyes of the onlookers, she was running toward a safe place outside. Sheng jumped down from the side of the villa. There was a road outside for cars. Sheng ran over and brushed past the car. The small stone hit the rear window. She couldn't see who was inside. However, when she went over, she clearly felt a sharp gaze from inside the car. Sheng stopped and turned around to look at the taillights of the car. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly. 3, 2, 1. The car that was driving steadily suddenly lost its balance. It made a few crooked turns on the road. The tires screeched against the ground. Bang. The car completely lost its balance and hit a streetlight. Sheng looked away and saw the fire truck that was late. This was a school mafia article. The host was called Luo Shu. She was studying at the Snuag Royal Academy. She was just in her first year of high school. Her family was rich and powerful. After Luo Shu turned 16, she started to manage a small underground gang in her family. At this time, the female lead came back to China. Well, the female lead must have come back from abroad. The female lead's identity was very powerful. She was the boss of the Foreign Rose gang. Why was it called Rose? Because the female lead thought that women were thorny roses. Well, there was no deep meaning. It was just that simple and crude. The female lead came back to take revenge. Revenge was normal. After all, the female lead had a grudge. And this target of revenge included the host's father. Chapter 13:18. The Luo family was only a part of her revenge. Most of the female protagonist's forces were abroad. Although she had some influence in the country, she didn't want to attract the attention of her enemies so soon. In order not to be noticed, the female protagonist chose to start with the original host. All in all, the original host never provoked the female protagonist. It was the female protagonist who kept making trouble for the original host for revenge. The original host had to fight back. As a result, the original host's IQ suddenly dropped, creating a way for the female protagonist to destroy the entire Luo family. When she came here, the Luo family was almost gone. Father and Mother Luo were dead, leaving the original host alone. The reason for the fire was very simple. The original host had asked the female protagonist to meet in the villa and wanted to kill her. Obviously, the original host didn't kill the female protagonist, but got herself killed. Luo Shu's last wish was revenge. The original host had nothing now. She didn't need to think to know who had attacked her when she came over. The female protagonist wanted to kill everyone in the Luo family for revenge. How could she let her run away? Sheng was speechless. Was there anything worse than this? Sheng lay in the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling with a melancholy face. Day by day, he felt more and more miserable. Sheng was thinking about how to kill the female protagonist as soon as possible. Suddenly, there was a scream. Where's the patient in bed 23? Shisheng opened the curtain and looked out. It seemed that an old man was lying in bed 23. Last night, she heard the snoring sound, but now it was gone. The nurse was asking people to look around. A nurse came over. Did you see the patient next door? Shisheng shook his head. The nurse didn't ask any more questions. She hurriedly turned and left. In less than an hour, the old man was found. He smelled of alcohol, and the nurse was scolding him. It's just a sip of wine. Is it necessary? I sat with her back to the nurse. She was very unhappy and muttered to herself. When the nurse left, the old man was relieved. He lay on the bed and started snoring. Shisheng. She should leave the hospital. After paying the bill, the original host only had a small amount of money left in her card. Shisheng stood at the hospital gate and sighed. This was robbery. The original owner had nothing now. Even the villa that caught fire belonged to someone else. Shisheng went to the supermarket opposite the hospital to buy a bottle of water and withdraw some money. When he came out, he happened to see the female lead coming out of the hospital. The female lead was called Feng Xiaoxuan. She had short hair and wore sunglasses. Her clothes were very neutral. At first glance, she gave people the feeling that she was a very good-looking young man. But if you looked carefully, you would find that she was a girl. She was a dashing young lady. Shisheng took a sip of water, put the bills back into his pocket, and rolled up his sleeves. Oh, there were no sleeves in summer. Shisheng gave up the pretentious act of rolling up his sleeves, and followed the female protagonist. After the female lead came out of the hospital, she kept talking on the phone. They were on the side of the road. The Shisheng didn't have good hearing, so he couldn't hear what she was talking about. Shisheng only heard a few words when they reached a place with fewer people. There have been police recently. Let's take it easy. Let's wait a few days. There's nothing to be afraid of. Was the female lead Darren saying that she was nothing to be afraid of? TSK. If it was the original owner, there would be nothing to fear. What a pity. Shisheng saw the female lead turn into an alley. He immediately followed her. The female lead seemed to have noticed him. When she was about to turn around, she was kicked and her body hit the wall of the alley. Before Feng Xiaoxuan could finish her words, she was kicked in the stomach again. Her hands and feet were tied by the sack. She lost her balance and fell to the ground. Then there were intensive kicks and punches. The kicks were so accurate that she didn't even have a chance to cut the sack with a knife. Since the original owner had a background in the underworld, she was naturally good at fighting. In addition, Shisheng used this body to deal with the female lead. What are you doing? Two policemen suddenly appeared at the entrance of the alley and shouted at Shisheng. Stop. Shisheng kicked the sack. Feng Xiaoxuan, I'm afraid that you can't find the person to take revenge on. Listen to my voice. Feng Xiaoxuan was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Luo Shu, it was Luo Shu. How dare she be so arrogant? Shisheng saw that the policemen were coming. He hurriedly ran into the alley not far away and got rid of them after a few turns. He didn't want to play with these policemen. They were all a bunch of idiots. Host, are you crazy? If you want her to know who did it, why did you put the sack on her? Also, host, how many gunny sacks did you prepare? Shisheng said matter-of-factly, it's easy to fight. So you put the sack on her not to hide it, but to make it more convenient? Have you considered the feelings of the sack? Shisheng snorted. He put his hands in his pockets and walked slowly along the alley. Why don't you kill the female lead? Wait, why did it ask this question? Shisheng sneered. Can I kill her? Her halo was gilded. Gilded, do you understand? It didn't believe it. Didn't you just chop her in the past? Since when did you care about her halo? Even if she couldn't kill her, she would make 2 holes in the female lead's body. We have to be good citizens who abide by the law. Speak human language. I'm tired. She didn't have money to spend. Wasn't that tiring? She didn't even know where she was going to live. How could she be in the mood to argue with the female lead? It wasn't like she could kill her. It was good to beat her up. She would beat the female lead up when she had nothing to do. Snowedge Royal Academy. Shisheng looked up at the luxurious school gate. As long as the word royal was attached, The standard would definitely not be low. The host studied here. The tuition fees were paid in one go, so she could still study here. But after the Luo family's incident, the host didn't come to school. She knew what would happen if she came to school. Ridicule, ridicule, sarcasm. The female lead was here. If she didn't come here, where would she go to have sex with the female lead? No, to have a deep relationship with the female lead. It was class time now. Shisheng stood at the school gate for a long time. The guard came out. Which class are you from? Why are you only here now? Year 1, Class 9, Shisheng answered casually. The guard looked her up and down. His expression immediately became subtle, and his tone was full of disdain. Student Luo, since you're late for school, you can stand outside. Shisheng glanced at him. His expression didn't change. The guard snorted and turned to enter the guardhouse. Even the security guard is so pretentious. Amazing. Shisheng walked over and knocked on the glass. The guard impatiently opened the window and shouted in a rough voice. What are you doing? Just stand there. I'll let you in when I'm happy. When are you happy? Shisheng asked calmly. Why do you care when I's happy? Go stand over there. The guard waved his hand to drive them away. Asterisk 2017. 04. 13 Book Review Area Cherub Emoshong Hashtag Today's Imperial Flower Ticket Hashtag Little Cuties. Please cast your tickets. Hashtag monthly ticket hashtag monthly ticket hashtag. Chapter 13-19. The dean suddenly received a call from the guard, saying that Luo Shu had beaten him up. The dean thought for a while before he remembered who Luo Shu was. The school was a small society, and the people in the school were all opportunistic. Luo Shu was nothing now that the Luo family was gone. Luo Shu from Grade 1, Class 9. Please come to the dean's office. Luo Shu from Grade 1, Class 9. Please come to the dean's office. Luo Shu from Grade 1, Class 9. Please come to the dean's office. The school broadcast suddenly sounded, and the students who were resting between classes looked in the direction of the broadcast. Luo Shu came to school? When the Luo family was still around, she was as arrogant as a peacock and ignored everyone. Now that the Luo family is in trouble, she wants to stay in school. There's going to be a good show. Luo Shu just doesn't talk to people. Everything else is fine. What's so good about it? You're not as arrogant as her, and no one owes her money. Who is she showing that face to? Our family backgrounds are not much worse than hers. Does she think she's the only one who's a princess? She still dares to come to school. She's really brave. Why wouldn't I dare to come? Of course she doesn't dare to come. The people in school. The girl's voice suddenly stopped, and she turned to look behind her. Shisheng stood behind with her arms crossed. Her soft hair was scattered casually, and a few strands of blue hair were faintly discernible. She raised her chin slightly, her expression seemingly curious. However, the curve of her lips made people feel that it was ironic. The sunlight poured on her body, as if she was coated with a layer of hazy light, and she was clearly distanced from them. She didn't show any humility or decadence. Instead, she was even more arrogant. If you want to find fault with me, you're welcome to do so anytime. Shisheng's lips curved slightly, and the sarcastic curve turned into a gentle smile. But you'll have to prepare more medical fees. The girls only regained their senses after Shisheng left. They couldn't breathe just now, as if their necks were being strangled by an invisible hand. They couldn't move their limbs except to stare at her. Luo Shu used to be cold, but she wasn't this scary. Shisheng ignored the summons on the radio and went straight back to the dormitory. This school was very rich and all the dormitories were single. However, when Shisheng tried to open the door with the original owner's key, he found that he couldn't open the door. She looked at the door number. It was the original owner's dormitory. After confirming that the key could not be opened, Shisheng went downstairs to find the dormitory manager. The dormitory manager was a middle-aged woman. The fat on her body was twice as much as the original owner. Her face was full of sarcasm. She flipped through the booklet that did not have any records at all. She squinted and said, Your dormitory has not been occupied, so it has been given to someone else. There are not many rooms in the dormitory now. Find a place to stay first. I will arrange a room for you when there is one. Shisheng smiled. Do you know why the dean was looking for me just now? The dormitory manager frowned in confusion. Why? Shisheng's smile deepened and he said in a sinister tone. Because I beat up the guard who stopped me from entering the school gate. Under the hot weather, the dormitory manager suddenly felt a gloomy chill. The girl in front of her was very beautiful. She had a faint smile on her face, but her eyes were gloomy and gave people a very uncomfortable feeling. What do you want to do? This is a school. Is it a place where you can mess around? The dormitory manager's voice involuntarily trembled. So what if it's a school? I am underage. At most, I will be locked up for a few days. When I come out, I will be a good man again. You are different. If something happens to you after being beaten up, you will cry. The dormitory manager. A student dared to threaten her. It was fine if she had a background, but she didn't even have one now. How dare she be so arrogant? In the end, the dormitory manager rearranged the dormitory for Shisheng. As soon as Shisheng left, she complained to the dean. Thus, the school broadcast began to call for people again. Shisheng found the dormitory that the dormitory manager mentioned, and found that it was a two-person dormitory. However, she felt that she was not in a dormitory. She was in a junkyard. As soon as she entered, she smelled a very unpleasant smell. The walls were covered with photos and posters of all kinds. Celebrities, two-dimensional characters, and school posters. In short, as long as the person was handsome, they were all here. The floor was littered with rubbish, and there were even instant noodles that had been eaten but not thrown away. Personal clothes were casually hung on the bed. Shisheng. She had always thought that she was quite sloppy, but after seeing the dormitory in front of her, she felt that she was simply awesome. The people who could live here were also strong people. Shisheng turned back to look for the dormitory manager. The dormitory manager must have done this on purpose. As soon as she arrived at the dormitory manager's office, she saw a man striding in with two security guards. The man had thick eyebrows and big eyes and a poker face. Luo Shu, didn't you hear the broadcast calling for you so many times? The school's dean. Shisheng looked calm. I heard it. If you heard it, why didn't you come to the office? What are you waiting for? Waiting for me to come and invite you personally? Do you still think that you are the eldest daughter of the Luo family? The dean glared at her and spoke without panting. Shisheng raised his eyebrows. Aren't you here now? The dean. The dean pointed at Shisheng and sneered. Well done, Luoshu. I think you still don't know who you are, right? Of course I know who I am. Shisheng put his hands behind his back and raised his chin slightly, his face full of arrogance. You are not worthy of I's status. Host, you are going to be struck by lightning for showing off. You are now a pauper, do you understand? The dean did not know if he was angered by Shisheng's words, but he had never seen someone so arrogant after going bankrupt. Take her away. The dean coldly ordered the security guard behind him. He was going to let her know who she was today. The security guard received the dean's order and immediately went forward to catch Shisheng. The dean had already turned around and left. He thought that it would be a piece of cake, but who knew that the security guard would suddenly wail behind him? His expression changed and he turned around abruptly. The security guard was rolling on the ground. In his impression, the girl who was supposed to be caught was looking at him with a faint smile. Her expression was indescribably sarcastic and cold. Luoshu, are you addicted to beating people? The dean was so angry that the muscles on his face were trembling. Do you know what you are doing? This is illegal. Believe it or not, I will call the police now. Call the police. Shisheng looked at him casually. You. Fine. The dean held his breath and took out his phone to make a call. The person on the other side seemed to be an acquaintance of the dean. He hung up after a few words. Luoshu, you are doomed. He could not punish a student. Hello, is this Yao Yaoling? Someone is abusing students here. If you don't come, I will jump down from the building. The dean suddenly widened his eyes and looked at the girl who was talking on the phone. Chapter 1320. The dean wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Shisheng had already told him the address, so he could only stare at him. Shisheng hung up the phone. You're acting as if you know how to fight demons. I don't know how to fight demons? Idiot. The policeman called by the dean arrived at the same time as another group of policemen. They were not from the same police station, so they did not know each other. Seeing that there were other policemen present, the policemen were also dumbfounded. Their station was in charge of this area. Why were there other policemen here? Which district are you from? What are you doing here? The policeman asked the two policemen standing behind the dean. Oh, we're here to investigate something else. The two policemen immediately said, we happened to see them arguing, so we came over to mediate. Bullsh *T, he called them here. Shisheng suddenly said, look at his phone if you don't believe me. He just called. Everyone. The two policemen were a little flustered. They came here in secret and did not go through the proper channels. This was against the rules. We're friends with the dean, and we're here on business. Is there anything wrong with us coming over to mediate? A policeman with a mole on his chin immediately changed his tone. The policeman only glanced at the mole policeman. Since you're here on business, leave this to us. The two policemen heaved a sigh of relief. They gave the dean a helpless look and left. Corrupt. Shisheng rolled her eyes at the patrol officers. The patrol officers who received Shisheng's glare felt very helpless. This is a school for the rich and powerful. If we're not careful, we'll offend the rich and powerful. We might even lose our jobs. Of course we'd do our best to avoid trouble. Who called the police just now? Me. Shisheng raised his hand and pointed at the dean. They're abusing me. The dean quickly added. Officer, something happened to this child's family. She was bullied by the school, so she thought the school was treating her badly. Actually, it's not a big deal. She's just messing around. The police captain looked at Shisheng sternly. Do you know that it's illegal to make a false police report? You're so young, yet you're already threatening the police. Shisheng. She turned and walked upstairs. The police captain shouted behind her. Where are you going? Why did the person involved run away before he could finish his question? Jump off the building. Shisheng's voice came from the stairs. Everyone. Shisheng's speed was very fast. A group of people chased after her. She was already standing on the edge of the rooftop. Only then did the police become anxious. Calm down. Don't be rash. Are you willing to listen to me now? One of Shisheng's feet dangled outside. She would fall if she was not careful. Luoshu, come down. The dean's expression changed. If someone died, he wouldn't be able to explain it to the school board. The police captain was afraid that the Shisheng would fall. What's the problem? Come down and tell us. If you have any problems, we will definitely help you solve them. If the school has mistreated you, tell us and we will definitely give you justice. Brats these days would jump off a building just because of a disagreement. Shisheng glanced at the policeman and said, I came to class today, but the guard stopped me outside and said that he would let me in when he was in a good mood. Shisheng blabbered on and on about what had happened just now. You can be the judge. If they are not bullying me, then what are they? Although my family is bankrupt, I have paid all the fees. How can the school bully me like this? No, that's definitely not possible. The police captain immediately agreed and turned to the dean. What's wrong with you? The child's family is in trouble. Instead of comforting her, you treat her like this. Who will take responsibility if something happens to her? The dean's face darkened. She hit the guard today. He didn't let me in. What's wrong with me hitting him? You were late first, Shisheng sneered. You can make me stand outside if you are late. He will only let me in if he is in a good mood. Who does he think he is? Is he? The salaried police officers didn't know about the affairs of these aristocrats, but they knew that her family was bankrupt. These people from the aristocratic school must have taken advantage of the situation to cause today's incident. The police captain comforted her. Okay, it's not a big deal. Come down first. It's dangerous up there. He glared at the dean and signaled him to keep quiet. What if she really jumped down? You guys solve the dormitory problem for me first. Huh. The police captain was confused. What dormitory? Shisheng didn't say anything. She didn't come down and just stood there. She was standing in a corner, and the police couldn't get close to her even if they wanted to. What's going on? What dormitory? The police captain immediately asked the dean. The dormitory manager had called the dean. Of course he knew about it, but it made him even angrier. Didn't we already arrange it for you? If you can stay there for a day, I'll consider you awesome. The police captain knew that there must be someone in the dormitory, so he asked someone to go down and ask the dormitory manager. Soon, the police officer came back and handed the photos of the dormitory to the police captain. The police captain was speechless. We have already asked the dormitory manager to rearrange the dormitory for you. Come down. The key. The police captain quickly asked someone to bring the key up. Throw it over. The patrol captain was a little scared. What if she didn't catch it? What would she do if she fell? Obviously he was overthinking. Shisheng caught the key easily. Can I come down now? Shisheng saw that there was an inflatable cushion below. Suddenly, she missed a step and fell down. There were screams coming from below. The people above were so scared that their hearts almost stopped. They quickly rushed to the edge and looked down. Shisheng slid down from the inflatable cushion and entered the dormitory under the eyes of countless students as if nothing had happened. Everyone. When the police found Shisheng's new dormitory, the door was locked and couldn't be opened at all. They knocked on the door for a long time and only got the answer that she would jump out of the window if they knocked again. Everyone. How could a naughty child who jumped out of the building without saying anything be so scary? The police captain and the dean stood in the corridor outside. The former was speechless and depressed, while the latter was full of anger. He couldn't take it lying down that he was played by a little girl. Your school is too much. The police captain smoked a cigarette. He couldn't stand the dirty and messy dormitory. Even if her family went bankrupt, she didn't give your school a single cent. What do you mean by doing this? You are in the education industry. Aren't you forcing the child to die? Yes, it's our negligence. When I go back, I will fire them. The dean replied casually. His attitude was very perfunctory. The police captain. He didn't understand the rich people's circle. Anyway, this person was coming down. He would catch a few thieves to calm down. Chapter 13:21. The patrol captain left 2 policemen behind to find a way to get the naughty child out for a statement and education. Seeing that the police were here, the teacher didn't say anything and left with a gloomy face. The news of Shisheng jumping off a building had spread like wildfire in Snowger. Wasn't it eye-catching to cause such a big incident as soon as she returned to school? There were also many posts on the school forum. Among them, a student's family went bankrupt, suspected of having mental problems, jumped off a building in school, was the most popular post. Everyone was waiting to watch a good show. There were even malicious anonymous users who asked why he wasn't dead. Was this a joke? Shisheng didn't even want to read such posts. A group of idiots who only knew how to make noise on the internet. The police outside waited for the whole night and knocked on the door every hour. Shisheng was impatient and finally agreed to take a statement. She was still underage and didn't have any relatives at home. The police could only educate her verbally. You'd better transfer schools. The police officer who took the statement reminded Shisheng before leaving. It was impossible for a business family to not have offended people. In a legal society, they wouldn't kill people, but playing tricks on people could cause trouble. They had seen the tricks of these rich kids. Such a young girl, who had just started her life. There is no growth without hardships. Shisheng stood at the door and looked at the police officer. Her expression was calm, and she had a maturity and calmness that didn't match her age. The police officer felt that her words were quite reasonable, but he almost spat out the next sentence. I want to be their hardships. The girl grinned widely, but there was no emotion in her eyes. How strange it was for a young girl to have that kind of expression. The police officer felt a chill on his back. Why was this little girl so cautious? The police officer. This child was definitely sick. He had to remind the school to take her for a checkup. She couldn't even raise herself, yet she was still talking nonsense. The police officer took the statement and left the scene quickly. This little girl was very strange. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen someone jump off a building? Shisheng glanced at the students who were looking outside and immediately shouted, "That's right. I've never seen anyone so proud of jumping off a building. Luo Shu, do you still feel proud of yourself after jumping off a building? If you're so capable, why don't you just die?" A girl in the dormitory opposite Shisheng immediately mocked him. Shisheng retorted nonchalantly, "How can I die when you're not dead yet?" "You." The girl's face suddenly turned red, but in the next moment she sneered, "Your family is already bankrupt. I don't know how you still have the courage to live. Which law says that you have to die if you go bankrupt? What's wrong with going bankrupt? Does a bankrupt have no human rights?" "No, but what do you rely on to survive?" The girl glanced at Shisheng and said, "You're pretty. You might be able to survive if you sell yourself." Shisheng scratched his head. Suddenly, he picked up a mop that someone had thrown to the side and swung it at the girl. The girl didn't expect Shisheng to suddenly make a move. She screamed in fear and scrambled into the dormitory. She wanted to close the door, but the mop stopped her. The girl wasn't as strong as Shisheng, so she stumbled when he pushed her. The girl fell to the ground, knocking over the cosmetics on the table next to her. She stared at the person who broke in with fear. "Luoshu, are you crazy? Luoshu, how dare you hit me? I won't let you go." The girl saw that Shisheng didn't intend to stop, so she kept shrinking back. Shisheng smiled sinisterly and raised his foot to close the door, blocking the view of the people outside. Those who have nothing to lose are not afraid of those who wear shoes. She was all alone and had nothing to lose. What was there to be afraid of? Luo Shu from grade 1, class 9 beat up a classmate, created public opinion, disregarded the law, and behaved viciously. The moment Fang Xiaoxuan stepped into the school, the broadcast system rang. Fang Xiaoxuan didn't keep a low profile in school. Her handsome figure had attracted a large number of brainless fans. Now, she was on par with the male protagonist, and was one of the most popular male idols. That's right, Fang Xiaoxuan was classified as a male idol. Most of her brainless fans were female. "Ah, look at me, my idol. Xiaoxuan, look at me, I'm calling you." The fans' voices almost drowned out the broadcast. Fang Xiaoxuan hooked her finger at the girl at the front. The girl walked over in a daze. My idol. What can I do for you?" Fang Xiaoxuan wore sunglasses and looked very cool. She pushed her sunglasses up and smiled evilly. "Can you tell me what's going on in the broadcast?" The girl put her hands on her chest and blushed. It took her a while to recover from her daze. She told Fang Xiaoxuan everything that had happened without leaving out a single word. Shisheng had returned to school for less than 48 hours. First, he beat up the guard, then threatened the dormitory manager, then jumped off the building, and now he beat up a classmate. After the police left, her name was put on the broadcast again, and the whole school was criticized. Fang Xiaoxuan felt strange. Was Luo Shu driven crazy? Her personality was very different from before. "Thank you, cute girl." Fang Xiaoxuan pressed her index finger on her lips and blew a kiss to the girl. "Ah, my idol sent me a kiss. I'm so happy." The girl was so excited that her eyes were like peach blossoms. Fang Xiaoxuan left the group of girls who were chasing her. Shisheng beat her up. Fang Xiaoxuan was filled with hatred. She had to take revenge. Shisheng stayed in the dormitory and didn't go to class. Since she beat up that girl, these people didn't dare to find fault with her. However, more and more people said that she was crazy on the BBS and urged the school to kick Shisheng out. Shisheng sneered at them. A group of naughty kids. How dare they kick her out? No matter what happened on the BBS, Shisheng didn't care as long as there were no idiots who came to her to die. Shisheng knew from other posts on the BBS that the female lead had returned to school. "She's more popular than me." Shisheng browsed through the posts. They were either confessing or worshipping posts. Looking at her posts, they either said she was crazy or asked her to get out of school. "Host, can you not focus on such a weird point? Exclusive news. The basketball match between the two male idols will be held on the basketball court this Friday. Fans, are you ready to cheer? This post was just posted, but it was pinned to the top as soon as it was posted. It was obvious that it was an official post. Shisheng clicked on it. At the top was a poster of Feng Xiaoxuan and a poster of a handsome man. Feng Xiaoxuan and Jiang Qinjing. There was a lot of nonsense below, praising the two of them as if they were the only ones in the world. Shisheng concluded with one sentence. In the basketball match on Friday, the loser had to promise the winner one thing. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.